just pause at 15 seconds. Catch up or whatever.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's Intergalactic Colosseum Season 7. We've got a lot of action on the cards tonight, but unfortunately we've had a clan or two drop out. Some of the games are having a little bit of a hard time getting filled, so we are on a slight delay tonight. In any case, we're going to get underway with what we do have. We've got some 1 versus 1s, and well, we're going to get started with those momentarily. So first, let's just talk about the Colosseum itself. So I'm not sure if you're aware of the format, but basically we've got 6 versus 6 in clan warfare. That 6 versus 6 makes up a different number of formats. So basically we're going to see some 1v1s, we're going to see 2v2s, 3v3 and 4v4 tonight, and those are all going to count towards the points for the Intergalactic Colosseum. Now, the clan lineup, it has changed around a little bit, so we will be a little bit fluid with that because the GB clan, like I mentioned, has dropped out, and we had a bit of a latecomer in the VII clan who have actually shown up, and they look like they're here with a vengeance. So let's go ahead and have a quick look at the maps that we're going to be looking at tonight, and then we're going to get underway with a game. So we're going to jump over to our map pool, and we're going to see in our 1 versus 1s we've got Craftius Maximus, followed by Cloud Kingdom, and then that is followed by White Fire. So those are the 3 maps to make a best of 3 in the 1 versus 1 format. While those games are going on, we're going to be having a couple of 2 versus 2s with the remaining clan members, and those guys are going to be battling it out on Coastal Bridge for 1 match, and then a second match is going to be underway with the last 2 players on Dual Archers, and that is going to round out the 1v1 and 2v2s, and then it's going to be switching up to the 3v3 format, and then we're going to see on there Iceland. So we'll see a nice 6-player Iceland's game tonight, and then finally we're going to have a little bit of a 4 versus 4 match going on, and that is going to be on Diversity. Alright, so we've got an interesting map pool coming up tonight, and we're going to now get underway with our first game, and this is on tag Craftius Maximus. We are going to be looking at Manreed versus Chosen in an SNF versus JEW match. Let's go ahead and jump into the action. Here we go. So we're going to resume that game. We are on live replay, so there is a slight delay from the live game. And we have got tag Craftius Maximus. Everyone is probably familiar with this map, but it is going to be an interesting one. So in the top left, we have got Chosen. He has opted for Cybran. He is going bright yellow, and we can see he is throwing down his first land factory there. And well, that is going to get him underway for a little bit of land spam. And down in the bottom right corner for the JEW clan, Manreed, he has opted for Seraphim in this one, so that does probably mean Ilshivas, and we can see he's got his first land factory planned. He's going to be grabbing the mixes there and switching up to the Hydro. Alright, so the build orders, let's just have a quick comparison there, because Chosen is actually going for a couple of early P-gens, which means he's going to have a little bit of early power online and ready to go a little bit earlier. Now, joining me for the commentary for this one, I have got Beast Mode Guns, or currently known as UI Lagger.
Hey, how you doing? Glad to be on board.
Welcome, welcome. You excited for the action tonight?
Yes, I'm looking forward to whatever action we're gonna get after that messy beginning.
Indeed. So it's
regardless, I think it'll still be satisfying.
A little bit delayed. Alright, so let's get into it. So we're currently looking at Chosen. He is throwing down those mixes, so he's a little bit slow. He's going to be a little bit behind in mass, and we can see that on the scoreboard actually. It is currently 9 mass per tick to 5 in favour of Manreed, so that extra little bit of build time at the start that he had while Chosen was putting P-gens up has stood him in a little bit of good stead for grabbing that mass advantage. Let's go down and have a look at what Manreed is doing. He is getting that Hydro finished. That is just about completed, and then he'll be throwing down some more pigeons and getting an air factory underway. So that's going to give him a little bit more air power. I think Chosen is maybe just a little bit behind there. We can see the air factory planned, but unfortunately that is a wee way off because that Hydro is still underway. And how are they going in terms of early expansion? There is a nice front engineer out there for Chosen. He's grabbing a couple of mixes there. That's going to help him in the eco game. And he's actually just pulling ahead because of that early expansion. And we can see another engineer down here, which is very nice. It is unprotected though at this point, but that is going to start grabbing some mixes momentarily. There is a scout in the middle there for Manred, so he's just trying to get a read perhaps on any bombers that might be coming his way, but we can see that Chosen has not gone bomber first, and that's going to be, well, that scout is actually cloaked because he is a Selen, and Selens, when they are on hold fire and stationary, they do have a cloak, which means he can sit there for quite some time and not actually be spotted by Chosen's forces. We've got a little bit of movement out to the south, and that is Manred grabbing some more mixes with that expanding engineer. UI Laggard, Beast Mode guns, which do you prefer actually, just to start with? What should we call you?
Just go beast mode. Well, I don't usually prefer 1v1. I'm not usually a crazy 1v1 person, but I mean, on Master with the Hydro, I just prefer to get my mexes, my factory mexes first, and then Hydro, get a few P-gens, get expansion, some raiders, and then depending on what's actually going on, second lander, second air, and then go from there. And then usually land spam.
Yeah, we can
and
see
it looks like there is a raider engagement going on.
Yes.
Bam versus the hunter.
And that hunter's not going to fare too well. The engineer was saved. He managed to... Oh no, that was a loss of that engineer. There was another engineer that was saved by that Tham popping out. And the bomber out for Manred is trying to get a little bit of work done, trying to take out that expanding engineer, and he might get a read on that. A bomb is away, and that is a kill. So a nice pickup there because that engineer was quite far in front, and it's going to take a little while for that engineer to get back out there. The bomber meanwhile does go down to the interceptor for Chosen.
And as you notice on the bottom left, there's also a bomber out from Chosen, just scooting around. It's probably going to try to pick off engineers building mexes in the water, and that'll be very nice to see.
Yes, there's no... Well, there we go. He's underway now, so he is heading out that way. He's probably managed to get a little bit of read on that engineer, and, well, it's actually completely unnecessary because that engineer is going to go down to a couple of Mantis, so down he goes. And there is another engineer out from Manred, and he's actually going to go and start laying down a whole ton of shipyards. That is going to be interesting. I'm not sure if he quite needs that many, but we'll see what happens in this.
Cloud shows this bomber does pick up an engineer kill, now hitting a mass extractor next, looks like just trying to do damage. Interceptors from Manred though will pick up the kill.
Yes, a definite bit of air advantage at this early point. There is a few more interceptors online for Manred. He was able to take out the interceptor that Chosen had up, and there's nothing that Chosen really has right now, so we can see that he's actually switched up to a little bit of ground-based AA. There's a couple of mobile T1 AAs popping out of the factory just to make up for that slight deficit in the air game that he is currently seeing. Those Mantis are doing pretty good work though. They are just about to take down that mass extractor, although they're very, very low on health, and they managed to take out that Tham just in time, and that leaves that Mantis with 66 HP, and he is going to be able to take out that second one. There is another group of Thams coming in though. They will finish him off, but a nice little bit of work there from that Mantis, and doing, well, 4 mass partic damage, and Chosen actually looking pretty good in the eco game. He's currently sitting on 41 mass partic to, well, 37 when we look at that, and 31 for Manred, so just a little bit of an advantage there, and that's pretty good for Chosen. The expansion is, well, we can see that Manred does have his ACU up in the top right hand corner. He is stowing down a land factory. He is going to start claiming that, so there's another 4 mixes there that he will be able to grab, and conversely in the bottom left, Chosen hasn't made a move yet for those, so there is going to be a little bit of a deficit there for Chosen when Manred does get that online. And we can see a big pack of interceptors, well, relatively big for this period of the game, and they are just hovering around looking for any targets of opportunity, but there's not a lot for them right now because Chosen doesn't seem to be putting too much into the air game. He's got a couple of interceptors floating over his base, but nothing else really out right now.
Chosen actually now has a frigate out, so we're going to see some naval harassment maybe. Manred doesn't have his first naval factory finished yet, so if Chosen's able to get his frigate over quick enough, he can prevent Manred from building navy on the bottom right this early on. Also, another thing to point out about this map, beside all the mass extractors in the water in the mid, there's also a lot of drop potential on the for engineers with the 3 hills on the top and bottom each. there's plenty of mass fire over there as well for air.
And we can see that bomber from Chosen is managed to pick up an engineer kill, which is nice because that was a very forward engineer, and it's denied a mass extractor, but it does quickly go down to the roving pack of interceptors that Manreed does have out. That frigate is coming around the bottom now. It will head straight over the top of those mixes, and that first naval factory is finished. So I'm not sure if Manreed is going to, well, he'll be able to get a frigate out reasonably soon, but I'm not sure that Chosen will be able to completely deny the Navy at this point.
To check then, Manreed is actually building a submarine first, so unless Chosen manages to kill that factory, he's going to Manreed watch be able to take the Navy from him. Chosen has a second frigate out, but no subs, although he is queuing up a sub now, so there's going to be a small naval skirmish aside from the main land fight.
The other problem with frigates, of course, is they can't take out any of those mixes. The mixes are right underwater, and they are not susceptible to frigates because frigates don't have any torpedo damage. And so the economy that Manreed has got underway over there is actually going to be completely unscathed from Chosen's forward push with the Navy. And we can see another bomber just getting shot down there from Chosen, doing a little bit of work, taking out another expanding engineer, and the interceptors for him trying to do as much work as they can, but they're just getting absolutely overshadowed by the amount of interceptors that Manreed has out. So Manreed definitely has clear control over the air at this point in the game, but he does have, well, actually Chosen's picked up that bottom left corner now, so he has built that out with eco, and he is managing to stick just a little bit ahead, sitting on 65 to 53 mass per tick, and a couple more mass extractors just going up there with the ACU, and still a whole lot of reclaim that Chosen has got available to him, and actually more going down as Manreed pushes forward with a number of THAMs, but they're all going to go down to a horde of Mantis with a couple of Medusas mixed in there, and that is going to just leave a little bit more reclaim. And it looks like Chosen's actually going for an upgrade, so he is going to chuck down that upgrade on his ACU.
It's looking like a Tech 2 upgrade based on the amount of mass and energy being spent.
And so in Chosen's world, that's actually called What the Hell Did I Do Wrong, as we saw in chat there. And we can actually see a Tech 2 shift for Chosen there. He's switched up, and there are a couple of rhinos heading through the center pass there, and they are going to be quite difficult for the THAMs to deal with. There is a T1 PD that has been quickly thrown down from Manreed, and that is going to be a problem for the rhinos because those rhinos are so low to the ground. But of course this Selene is still sitting in the middle there. It hasn't been too close to the ACU, it hasn't been spotted, and well, that's just giving him a little bit of free intel, and that might be what's letting him throw down those PDs and just make sure that he is staying on top of the defense of his base there. And it looks like Chosen is trying to move in, but the units are maybe spread out just a little bit too much. He's going for the eco. He is going to try and take out those two mixes, but I'm not sure if it's going to be worth it at this point because there are a number of units that are going to probably be lost with that raid, and just leave a little bit more reclaim there for Manreed. And how are we going in the air game? Because it looks like Chosen is still trying to just throw up a little bit more, and those interceptors probably don't want to land there because they're starting to take fire from Chosen's units. And, well, there are at least twice as many interceptors online for Manreed as there are for Chosen, so that is not going to work in Chosen's favor at the moment.
Yeah, Manreed is... he doesn't have too much map control, but in the inner areas on land, but he actually has naval control. As you can see, he has 3 submarines, so if he wants, he can control the water. He needs to take those subs, start hunting down Chosen's Navy and mexes, and then also use his air control to maybe build some bombers. So he does have a nice 8 land factory he's pumping out units, so he'll be able to hold his own until Chosen's Tech 2 land span becomes too numerous.
And we can see some hoplites out there for Chosen, and those are going to be fantastic for dealing with those T1 PD, and that is going to help him just assault their base a little bit. We've got another T1 PD, so Manreed looking to move into a little bit more of a defensive position right now. He knows that he's under a little bit of pressure, and that actually is revealed in the scores at the moment because we're sitting on 81 mass per tick for Chosen and only 41 for Manreed, so quite a severe disadvantage for Manreed right now. He's going to be able to have to pull something out. He's going to have to take out a lot of eco if he's going to win this by attrition. And we can see a little bit of a push in the top there. Manreed is trying to push back. There is not a lot for Chosen at the moment. There is a couple of T1 PDs in there, and they are going to do a little bit of work, but there is a Zooey in the mix or two, and those guys are going to be able to dismantle the T1 PD without too much trouble because there aren't any units to support them, because Chosen is focusing down the center lane here, and he is pretty much going to wipe the floor clean of any of these THAMs that Manreed is able to get out. Now, Manreed does need to get up to T2. Well, he's actually got his T2 factory, factory. He's got a single Ilshiver out so far, and that is going to be his main point of focus at the moment, because you can see all these other factories are paused, and that is going to enable him to shove those Ilshivers out the door as quickly as possible. But at this point it's looking a little bit too late, because those Ilshivers are vastly outnumbered by the hoplites and the mantis which are floating around. So this is definitely looking like it's swinging highly in Chosen's favour, and the gap is just actually widening at the moment. Those hoplites just backing up a little
now a TML just hits what Manreed's factory is. Chosen is now TMLing Manreed's factories, trying to get down that production so he can get his dominance. And it looks like, oh shit, Manreed's ACU goes to the hoplite spam.
That is a little bit dangerous. He is down to 46, 4400. Look at the HP, just absolutely vaporizing off that. He is not going to last too much longer. 22, well, I can't even count that quickly, because that is going to go boom. And that is the end of the first match. So that lasted 11 minutes 50, so just shy of 12 minutes. And it is a first win up to Special Noob Forces, SNF. So a nice game there. Let's jump back, and well, we've got some other games underway at this point, so we will be able to jump straight into another live replay. And so let's just switch out of here and go and see what else we can pick up. Have you got any recommendations for games there? Whoops.
Just going to check. Let's see. Out there. Jay Fry and Aviba are playing against Ravager and Pink Fluffy Noob as well. I don't know if you can see any of those icons. And you can always just click in from the online vault.
We might have to go that way, because that's
actually, wait, it looks like those matches actually already finished. If you want to look at one of those, if you want to look at currently live match.
Alright, do we have any of the... So do we have any 2v2s underway right now?
At the very moment, I think there should be one on a... I'm just going to look for it. I think there should be a dual archers. I don't know if it's already finished. Just have to scroll for it.
It looks like we actually do have UEF versus ONI. Let's pick that game up really quick. No, the replay is corrupted, it says. We're not going to be picking that one up. Alright, so it looks like we can jump into the SNF versus Jew.
Alright, the Coastal Bridge one?
Yeah, that's the one.
I'll go and click into that one as well.
Alright, so we are underway now with the Intergalactic Colosseum Season 7. We have managed to get a single game so far. Everything is a little bit delayed due to some people not showing up and just, well, a few interesting things like that. We did have the GB clan pull out, so they are no longer in the competition, and we are trying to scramble and make sure that we still get enough games and make sure everything happens. So we're going to shift on now to the 2v2, and we're actually going to look at the JEW clan versus SNF and see how those guys are going to get on. Of course, this all contributes to the points that the clans are accruing throughout the season. There is going to be about 8 weeks to the season, and the winner will be determined by the maximum point count at the end of that. So let's get this game underway and see how our first 2v2 is going to go down.
So from the looks of it, the JEW team will be running Viba's UEF and Philip J. Fry as the obligatory Cybran against Pink Fluffy Noob's UEF, followed by Ravager Noob as Seraphim.
Alright, how are the initial build orders going for these guys? Let's go down and have a look at Ravager Noob there. So he has opted for Seraphim, of course, and he's throwing down that first land factory. He's getting adjacency from that first mix, and we can see that he'll be grabbing the Hydra first because there are no PGNs in his initial build order. Down there, Pink Fluffy Noob doing pretty much the same thing. He's actually going for double adjacency on that land factory. He'll be throwing down those first mixes, and we can see the rally point there to get that engineer close to the Hydro and get that built. We can see pretty much the same thing. Well, actually, it looks like VII is going for adjacency on the Hydro for this one, so he is favoring the power a little bit more heavily than the mass bonus that gives, and that Hydro does get started. And over here,
interestingly enough, Philip has actually gone first air while everyone else has gone for the usual first land. It looks like Philip has just put out land scout, air scout at the moment, and it doesn't look like he's actually making any offensive units, no bombers or jesters. Very interesting decision if he hasn't planned to make any actual raiding air units.
yeah, I'm not sure
That's
whether
a bit of a waste of energy.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a little bit of a misclick, because you would have perhaps expected a first bomber out if that was the strategy, because he has actually given away the fact that he has first air by putting that scout over his opponent's base. So they have now actually responded with a couple of mobile T1 AAs, and so that gives them just a little bit of a heads up that that air is inbound. So perhaps a strategic disadvantage there to Philip J. Fry. In terms of the scoreboard, we can see that Pink Fluffy Noob is, well, he was just ahead, and now VII has caught up with him, and they were, well, actually that was reclaimed, so 13 mass per tick for Pink Fluffy Noobs, 12 at the moment for VII, but I suspect that is a bit of reclaim. Philip J. Fry coming up next, and Ravager Noob still sitting on 4 mass per tick. That must be a mass stall, although there are a number of unclaimed mixes down there, and it looks like he's actually going to, well, maybe give a little bit more over to Pink Fluffy Noob, so perhaps the higher rating is going to merit a little bit of a more eco for those guys. I wonder if there is a little bit of strategy. I'm not sure whether these guys have spent much time training or not, because it could be something that they're pulling off, giving double eco to the 1800 player. It could be a viable strategy. We can see that Hydra is now going down for Ravager Noob, and so he'll get a little bit more power on momentarily, and he is actually at the bottom of the pack at the moment, just sitting on 120 power income. We saw a little bit of a forward unit push there, and that was pretty quickly dispatched with Ravager Noob from that point. And there is the ACU for VII. He's actually moving into the center now, and he is going to start picking up the mixes and reclaim. That would be my pick. And those big rocks there, actually, they are worth 75. Not a whole lot, but still better than nothing. And there is a scout moving in there from Pink Fluffy Noob, so they will be aware that the ACU is in the center now, and we might see Ravager Noob moving there. Well, actually, he's on an upgrade, so he's not moving anywhere right at the moment.
Pink Fluffy Noob, if you hold shift and look at his command, he actually is moving towards the middle, so he's going to go ahead, go up there, meet VII. He'll be too late to stop him from getting the majority of the reclaim, but there's still the 4 mass extractors to fight over, and that will probably be enough of an incentive to try to push him off the middle. Tell him, this is my hill, I'm going to sit on it, and if you don't like it, then I'm going to force you off. And yeah, basically that. But Philip is also going for an upgrade. Looks like a gun upgrade, and same for Ravager. So we're going to see guns from both sides pretty early here.
And it looks like VII is not going to go for those mixes. In fact, he's going to leave a reasonable amount of reclaim in those little rocks, and he's going to back up a little bit. He does have quite a lot of T1 units there with him. He's probably got them right at the front. He's probably not going to push just at the moment. There is a little bit coming online for Ravager and Pink Fluffy Noob, and those guys are starting to move them. I wonder if they're just moving into position, or if they're thinking about perhaps a little bit of an attack. If one of the guys is a little bit low in units, it does open a little bit of an opportunity for a double team on a single player. Of course, if you can disable one of the players early on, then that is going to give you a severe disadvantage, well, a severe advantage over the other team, and they are going to have trouble fighting both of your players with the one that they've got left. And a nice little bomber.
Yep. A bomber from VII does manage to kill about 2 engineers from Ravager, it looks like, so very nice.
it's going for a little pack there, and that could get 3, and it does. So a further 3 engineer kills before that bomber goes down, so well worth it. That is a very good deal for those guys, for the JEW clan. Of course, I don't really want to say JEW as the word, because it's, well, I think there's a little bit of discussion in this in the OLS and everything,
yes,
about how appropriate it is to call your clan joint economy warfare. And we've got a little bit of an engagement going on. It looks like Pink Fluffy Noob is going to lose most of that T1 if he continues to press, because there are 2 commanders there and there are no ACUs backing it up from SNF. Pink Fluffy Noob just about finished with his upgrades at about 75%, and Ravager Noob is finished and he's moving his way up to the centre there. It looks like they might be thinking about grabbing some of those mixes at this point. Of course, T1 mixes don't have to be online for terribly long before they pay for themselves, and Pink Fluffy Noob will be able to join him shortly, although his units are taking a bit of fire from the ACU of Philip J. Fry. Philip backing up a little bit because he is now taking that gun fire from Ravager. How are the ratings placed for this? Because we have got, in the north, for the JEW clan, we've got Philip J. Fry sitting on 1800 and VII at 1700. And then for SNF, Pink Fluffy Noob at 1800 and Ravager at 1500. So perhaps a little bit of a rating disadvantage to the SNF clan down in the south there. I'm not sure whether that is going to play out too terribly much on a map of this size, which is pretty much a single choke point on the centre and commanders just beating each other with guns. But it could yield a little bit of a difference as we progress and get a little bit further into the mid and late game.
It currently looks like the SNF does have a comm advantage. Philip J. Fry sitting at 4k health, being beaten on, and now the VII also taking more damage than Ravager Noob, respectively. So the top team is going to have to retreat, and they're putting their land forces forward to give them some cover fire as they make their retreat.
Yes, Philip J. Fry actually just continuing to take fire there, and these guys are going to have to be pretty careful here, because if that ACU, say VII is out in front at the moment, he's sitting on about 5k health, and if he was to take sustained fire from both ACUs, that is going to be a little bit of a problem.
Pink Fluffy Noob actually vets, sitting pretty at 2.5k health. Philip J also vets, and now the top team here of JEW actually has advantage over the SNF team, and right now Pink Fluffy Noob sitting dangerously low at below 1k health. It looks like he just backs off and gets out.
He is just backing up a little bit, although he's still taking a little bit of fire. He's going to have to be extremely careful. He's down under 1k health now, which is a big problem when you've got 2 gun comms on the front line and a number of T1 units flowing in. There's actually
actually about to go down, sitting free on 500k health. The Raptor pushing in, and both ACUs for
and that is enough. That is low enough for a chain reaction. That is okay. So VII goes down, and he is within proximity of Philip J. Fry, and that is going to be the end of that. So that rating disadvantage not causing a problem for SNF, and they actually managed to chain react the ACUs for the Joint Economy Warfare clan and take the win. So a pretty nice effort from those guys. Right, Mr. Beast Mode Guns, would you mind having a look and seeing what we can do for the next match? What are we going to pick up?
We'll see what else is available. I'd just like to point out, though, as far as the JEW team goes, I mean, sure, you can look at Ringer, but I mean, most of them, when realistically, actually do play mostly Settons, so I guess you could say that they're slightly underrated in the when playing other things, so that could give them a little bit of a disadvantage. Because I mean, you know, that's what happens. It's like being a 1900 playing nothing but dual gap. So you have to take that kind of thing into account as well.
Yeah, there was a little bit of discussion earlier in the week about how that clan would fare, because they do play mostly Settons, and of course we know that you can farm a single map to gain a decent rating, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to pick up that kind of level of skill in any old game, especially in tournament play, where things tend to be, well, a little bit more pressure, and they can play out a little bit differently to your average Settons match, or Settons, depending on how you want to say it. So we're going to go ahead and jump into another game now, and what game is that going to be?
I am currently looking through. I Can't particularly find any. I'm looking. It looks like a 3v3 for UEF and ONI has been hosted, and Marshalich Marshalich is still. Oh no, mind. That's a separate one. He's no longer trying to host his. But right now, UEF does currently have their lineup for the 3v3. So that means ONI has forfeited both their 1v1 rounds, and from the looks of it, and one 2v2 potentially.
Alright, so games are a little bit sparse at the moment because everything is a little bit delayed, and there have been a few problems with getting enough people into the channel to actually get running. I can see though there is in the replay vault the SNF versus JEW 1v1 match, so that is Overrated Noob versus RoboGear. So let's go ahead and jump into that and see how those guys are going to get on.
Alright.
Alright, so in the north we have got RoboGear for the Joint Economy Warfare clan. He has opted for Cybran. He is going the white colour. He's throwing down his first land factory. We can see he's going to grab those two mixers and then most likely jump onto the Hydro build. And down in the south, Overrated Noob is, well, he is throwing down a first PGen. So, we don't probably need too many guesses as to what his plans are going to be for RoboGear in this. Of course, there is a little bit of a rating disadvantage to RoboGear. He is sitting at 1600 global versus 1800. And, well, it doesn't always mean a huge amount in 1 versus 1 because that is their global rating. But it does mean that Overrated Noob has probably got a slight advantage over him. And we can see that first air factory going down now. And we'll see a bomber out momentarily. How is RoboGear getting on? He's just about to get that second mix done. He's got that. He's wandering over towards the Hydro. The first engineer pops out of the factory and he is getting that Hydro underway. First bomber. That is going to be quite interesting. Have you played this map a lot? Beast mode guns.
I only played this several times in a tournament. Once against Tagada, I think, and once against Heaven in both being in the Violet's Ruse and Drop Bears Aussie time zone tourneys, and in both times I was wrecked.
Yeah, so I have...
Zuis are very helpful on this map.
Yes, I haven't had a huge amount of success on this, but I don't think I've ever faced a first bomber, and there it is out of the gate now. It is heading over towards the middle, and there's actually a scout out for RoboGear. So if Inquisitor chooses to take a direct line, he's actually going to run right over the radar and give him a little bit of an opportunity. And actually there is a mobile AA popped out of the factory for RoboGear. So I think he has got maybe a little bit of an inkling that something might be coming his way in the air. And he is just about, well, he's just seen that a bomber's flown overhead, taken out that unit. And, well, we've got a second mobile AA out, and those guys are going to not save that engineer. So unfortunately that expanding engineer does go down. That bomber down to the red and goes down. So just a single engineer kill because of that AA that RoboGear managed to throw out. So a very nice play there, and that might actually cause a bit of a problem for Overrated Noob because he invested a lot in getting that first bomber out, and unfortunately it didn't really pay off. There is already another engineer out to the point where that one died, so not a huge impact on RoboGear's game so far. Going down and having a look at Overrated Noob's ACU. He is going to do an edge build for a factory down here, so that is interesting. I have not actually thought of doing this before, which could save a little bit of time because the ACU doesn't have to walk around. He's going to get that land factory out. That'll give him the engineering capacity out into this reclaim and to the second Hydro.
Of course, you have to take into account that if RoboGear is to get more factories and say assemble landsmen right now, then and then have to move his ACU a longer distance to the battlefield in case RoboGear decides to push for his territory and for the reclaim, because if you do the control shift, there are nice pockets of reclaim in the map, in mostly towards the center and out those north and south as well, and plenty of opportunities for that.
And Overrated Noob a little bit slow there on grabbing his big reclaim because there is, of course, that single big rock. It's worth 300 reclaim. And RoboGear's picked that up some time ago, and Overrated Noob is only just getting to it now. And we can actually see that Overrated Noob is really light on units. There is a Mantis coming in from RoboGear, and there is not actually much to stop it. There's another bomber out here, but I'm not sure if he'll get too far because there is a bit of mobile AA, and there are a couple of interceptors up for RoboGear, so he has responded with an air factory of his own, and that is going to mean that that initial investment for Overrated Noob is probably going to be a little bit problematic. A THAM coming in to run off that Mantis which is coming in. That Mantis not able to pick up an engineer kill, which would have been a nice little addition. So it looks like Overrated Noob is going to be able to just hold it off for now, and that is, well, that's because there's only a AA in that mix as well. So once that Mantis goes down, and there are now 2 THAMs to that 1 Mantis, that AA will quickly follow. And we can see the engineer out here for Overrated Noob. He's picking up that reclaim, but there is a Mantis coming around the corner, and he's going to very quickly get rid of that, and that's going to deny a little bit more eco to Overrated Noob. And so at the moment we can actually see that RoboGear is a little bit ahead. He's sitting on 15 mass per tick to the 11 of Overrated Noob. So that is just a bit of a testament to how much Overrated Noob invested in that first bomber and how much it put him behind, and that is just going to cost him a little bit in the long run. In fact, RoboGear's ACU out in the centre, grabbing that mechs, and he is pretty much uncontested at this point, and the economy advantage is quite substantial to him at this point. He's picking up a lot of extra reclaim and giving a hard time to Overrated Noob, actually, and the air is definitely in control for RoboGear. Can see a couple of factories starting to go up now for Overrated Noob. He does need to get that land spam online. It won't be long before there is a whole lot of factories running for RoboGear, and those guys are going to be able to spit out a ton of Mantis, and Overrated Noob probably just needs a little bit more to be able to deny that. And it looks like RoboGear just looking for an expanding engineer that might have popped up into this corner, and there isn't actually one because Overrated Noob hasn't expanded that far yet. He is definitely a little bit behind on expansion. We can see that the Hydro is underway there for RoboGear, and it has not even started down here in the south for Overrated Noob. And there's a little contingent of THAMs, but those guys are not going to do too well against the ACU. That does mean that Overrated Noob will be aware of where RoboGear's ACU is now, but that does mean that RoboGear is going to be able to push right through this side here. There is this mech which will go down. The build on the Hydro is not going to be completed, and then this factory is most likely going to go down along with this engineer and mechs, and of course deny all this reclaim. So there's a bunch more there that RoboGear is going to be able to stop Overrated Noob from grabbing. Meanwhile, if we look at the top, we have got an engineer running around. He's actually picking up trees at the moment, so maybe not the best use of reclaim, but there is a lot of reclaim available to him, and he will momentarily have that Hydro completed. And we've got a little bit of a contingent here for Overrated Noob, just trying to ward off the small raiding parties coming down from RoboGear, and it looks like...
Interestingly enough, a Jester is now on the field for RoboGear, killing off some of the land forces that Overrated Noob has, taking advantage of his air control. There are a few Tech 1 mobile anti-airs to try and stop the Jester, but the Jester at this rate will kill them in vet, and 3 will not be enough for 1 Jester.
And of course there's no way that Overrated Noob will be able to pump out enough interceptors. In fact, he is not even trying. So he has got an idle air factory right now. Those AAs are now taking... well, they're taking exception to that Jester. They are managing to do a reasonable amount of damage. He is down to about half health, but he has already just taken out that second of the 3 ISLs, and down goes the third one.
ACU fight going on. Chosen actually catches, not Chosen, Overrated Noob actually catches out RoboGear's AC alone, but that's starting to go backfire because now RoboGear's units are swarming Overrated Noob, and it looks like, yep, Overrated Noob is surrounded alone, and now these Mantire are just going to melt him.
And there is a Jester joining the fray as well. Well, that same Jester still sitting on 285 HP, and it looks like Overrated Noob may just have given up. He is just standing there. His only hope now is to be able to do enough damage to RoboGear to get him down under the ACU death explosion threshold and get a mutual, but I don't think that that is on the card given the swarm of Mantis that is now bearing down on him. He's down into the red, 2000 HP, very, very, very quickly vaporizing, and down he goes. So that is a interesting result there. Some very nice play from RoboGear. It looked like it was just not enough from Inquisitor, so he invested too much in that early bomber, and that was to his detriment, and that is the end of that match. So we're seeing a couple of interesting results, and not necessarily always going the way of the rating, so you can't trust in that too much. Have we got any other games underway at this time? Let's just jump back and see what we can find. All right, so we saw an interesting result there, a little bit of an upset there. RoboGear managing to take out Inquisitor in 1 versus 1, and that is pretty much down to Inquisitor trying for a first bomber. He didn't make it count. He took too much damage. He took too much of a hit to his expansion. His eco did not support the amount of spam that RoboGear was able to get online, and he was completely swarmed. He did just manage to catch RoboGear's ACU out of place, but he didn't have enough in the way of T1 units to support his ACU to capitalize on it. Alright, so now let's go and see if there's any other games underway that we have got. Have you got anything for me, Beast Mode Guns?
I'm not currently sure if there's any other games underway, but there is a 3v3 filling between JEW and SNF, which of course will take place in Iceland, and currently it looks like Philip J. Fry, Hazael, and RoboGear will be taking to the battlefield for this lineup for JEW, and then Cookie Noob Chosen and a third SNF member will be taken to the field for that. I'll go ahead and see if I can find anything in the replays vault.
Yes, I did see earlier in SNF chat that they were looking for an extra player, so I wonder if they're just having a little bit of trouble. Perhaps they are just going 2v3, because basically with the IGC format, if you are not able to field the players for a game, you will forfeit the game, but there's perhaps nothing to stop them trying a 2v3 because they can't actually fill it. So we'll see if that does actually get underway, or if they are going to get another player on board and be able to fill out that game. Now, I would suspect that there are a couple of 3v3s already underway. I'm just going to have a quick look in the background here and see if I can find anything that looks like it is going to be useful. I can see Ryfun maybe in a game. I'm not sure what that game is going to be. Let's just give it a quick check and see if we've got something else that we can watch. No.
Yeah, there was actually a ONI versus UEF 1v1 that actually did get off the ground on I'm just gonna double check this. I do believe it's Tag Craftius Maximus. It's Blood Axe Noob, otherwise known as Ceaseless Hunger, versus Hawkeye, if you may want to check that out, since so far we've only been able to cover SNF and JEW.
That's right. So let's just have a quick look. And sorry, which was one of the players in that game? We'll try and pick it up out of the replay vault.
Hawkeye from UEF.
All right. Don't mind me while I just wait for my client to catch up with me. Since the last update, the FAF client has been just a little bit slow for me and causing a little bit of UI lag. And you'd know all about that, Mr. UI Lagger.
Yes. And as I'm UI Lagger, I will easily become TA for life's worst nightmare.
Alright, I can see that game there. Let's jump into... Well, there's actually a Cloud Kingdom. No, that one is not going to work for us. So we're going to jump into the Tag Craftius Maximus for UEF versus ONI. Alright, let's get that underway. The game is loading up now, so we'll be able to see how those clans. So as my co-caster Beast Mode Guns, also known as UI Lagger, pointed out, we have not been able to get a massive amount of coverage so far because the number of games actually hasn't been too high. So let's get the game going, and here we go. So we are facing off UEF versus the ONI, or the Oni clan, and we have got in the north, we've got Hawkeye for the UEF clan. He is going blue, and he is going first land, and he's actually not going for any adjacency on that land factory, and then he'll be getting that hydro underway. And down in the south, his opponent, Blood Axe Noob, and that's an interesting naming convention given that he is not playing for the Noob clan. But in any case, he's actually gone for Aeon.
Also, a funny little thing about Black, who was previously known as Ceaseless Hunger. This isn't confirmed, it's merely rumor, but some people believe that he is he's a Smurf for K240, and some people believe he is a Smurf for Jolly. Who knows? No one really knows, but it is kind of amusing to see.
Well, that certainly adds to the confusion, because if it is one of those guys and he is playing for the ONI clan and he's got Noob in his name, then he has got multiple allegiances going on for sure. We can see he's going and getting his first mixes down with the ACU. He has got a hydro underway now with that first engineer out of the factory. That'll be assisted from the ACU, and then a few more PGens plan to go down to then switch over to a bit of production. Up in the top we can see there is a mech marine out for Hawkeye, and he is going to sit around the base, and in fact Hawkeye not using his ACU, so the ACU not assisting that hydro, perhaps a little bit of a misstep there, and there we go, he has now got it underway to add the build capacity to that construction. And we can see those mech marines now taking off with the Snoop just behind them, and they are going to head off and try and grab a few engineer kills, would be my guess. And there is one engineer going out for a little bit of expansion so far for Blood Axe, and he's going to grab those first two mexes and then head out into the water and maybe throw down some naval factories after that. We'll have to see what happens in the build queue. So those mech marines just moving up the center there. Actually that Snoop not sticking with them, and he's going to zoom up on top of this plateau. Of course that's a nice little position for a radar to sit, because you can shield from a lot of fire and keep that radar coverage online. Meanwhile those two mech marines just zoom down the center alley there, and they're going to try and pick something off. It won't take too much to stop them, of course, and there is an Aurora already out, and that could easily stop those mech marines if it has a bit of radar coverage, and there is a scout out there for Blood Axe as well. In terms of rating, we've got 1400 for Blood Axe Noob and Hawkeye at 1200, so a little bit lower than the games we've just seen, but still reasonably well balanced, so it's probably going to not be over too quickly. And those mech marines are heading in now. They've skirted around where the tank has ended up for Blood Axe, and they could actually get in here and get a couple of engineer kills, because there's nothing actually in close proximity that can support for Blood Axe. And that mech marine just strolling into range now, and he is starting to open fire on those engineers. Is there a reactionary reclaim? There is no reclaim at all, so Blood Axe a little bit slow there, and the second mech marine has now picked up that engineer, and he is going to start picking away at him, and unfortunately he lets it get out of range, and well, those mech marines doing a lot of damage for the amount of mass. There is a bomber out across the center now, and it looks like Hawkeye will have actually spotted that, because he did have mech marines in the area, and those guys have actually split up now, one to go and take out those mixes, but there is an Aurora heading in, and this one up here to try and take out another expanding engineer, but it is going to run straight into an Aurora. But a very nice little bout of micro is going to keep that guy alive for a little bit longer. This bomber is now getting to work on engineers. It looks like he managed to grab a couple of nice kills there, and he's starting to go to work on the power grid, and a little bit of a hover bomb there. Very nice from Blood Axe.
Successful hover bomb. Very nice job. Several pigeons dead.
And that's going to drop the power income down, so Hawkeye sitting on 136 or 120 without reclaim, and that's compared to the 220 for Blood Axe, so a nice advantage there.
If you look at Hawkeye's eco, he's actually stalling both power and mass, so he's just now going positive on mass +1, but he's constantly negative, over 100 negative on a power, so that's going to set him back for a while.
And that is because he is putting an interceptor together, so that T1 air factory is going to be consuming best part of 100 mass per tick, and he is just getting that interceptor online now, so that interceptor will finally be able to dispatch that bomber, but it has done a horrendous amount of damage, all the power, all the engineers in the middle of his base there, and there is nothing that he's been able to do. Actually, he already had an interceptor out, but it was a little bit far away to be able to take care of that bomber, and that bomber just continuing to go to work. Down goes another engineer, a fantastic bomber. He's sitting on 8 kills, and he finally goes down. So a very, very well played early bomber there from Blood Axe. He is slightly higher rated, of course, than Hawkeye, so a little bit more experience there, and he got that hover bomb in pretty flawlessly and did a massive amount of damage. And that power grid still is actually not under repair yet, so Hawkeye is still struggling with the power, and he just isn't getting anything rebuilt to make up for that. He's continuing to try and get that land factory up. I'm just going to jump over to his eco now. He is still stalling a horrendous 156. He's trying to push out a bomber, which is probably a huge mistake right now, because he just does not have the eco. That air factory is pulling 90 energy per tick, and that is going to be a big problem when he's stalling at 240, which he currently is. So a little bit of a problem there. He needs to be pausing as much of the production as he can to get his power grid underway. We can see a number of PGens going down there, so well, planned PGens, but those guys are quite some way off. This engineer is going to try and finish this land factory first, and that is going to mean that he is going to have absolutely nothing on the ground while Bloodaxe is able to throw together a decent T1 army. And he's, well, what is he doing? He's got a number of land factories online, but he doesn't have a huge number of Auroras shooting across the map just yet. He's got a couple here looking for expanding engineers just to try and take those guys out, but that's not going to eventuate to anything because Hawkeye actually hasn't expanded to the bottom left at all yet, and we can see the advantage of the hover Auroras over here, and he is going to zoom out there and be able to take out that engineer. He probably does need to focus a little bit more and not hit out of range. He is actually just gapped out of range, so a little bit of a misclick there. But another bomber here. This bomber is going to do horrendous things over here because there's still no AA at all online for Hawkeye. Hawkeye looking like he's in real trouble at this point.
Yes, indeed, and now of course there's another bomber causing havoc from Bloodaxe, just killing another engineer. He's going to do whatever he can to make sure Hawkeye can't rebuild. So I think that's why he's not being too aggressive. He's just kind of playing with his food because he knows his food can't fight back effectively, and that he has that advantage right now. So maybe he's just going to sit back, maybe build up a little, maybe eco, and we'll see where that goes. While he's still pushing his few auras here. We
can see he's also got a frigate out, so he has pushed that right around the left-hand side as well as auroras. So that is going to be a bit of a problem there for Hawkeye. Well, another problem that he has to deal with. So right now he is dealing with absolutely not enough power, and he still actually hasn't got that power grid underway. The engineer that was building that factory has been dispatched, and that does mean that he has stopped consuming quite so much, and he's actually paused his air factory as well. So a nice move there. It is a little bit late though. He is sitting on -3 power at the moment, so just managing to not quite stall, but he is actually burning off mass right now because he just doesn't have enough power to spend it. So he is looking like he's going to be struggling very much, and a couple of those PGNs going down from that frigate, so that frigate definitely paying for itself already. That ACU trying to get another factory online, but just not able to do anything. He's going to switch up and go and try and take out the frigate instead, but at this point it is a little bit of a lost cause. This game is swinging ever so hard in favour of Bloodaxe Noob, and he's got Auroras sitting around doing absolutely nothing right now. He doesn't even need to move them because the lack of power is pretty much doing his job for him. He doesn't need to do much at all, while Hawkeye struggles with that power stall and unfortunately is not going to be able to produce anything to compete with the horde of Auroras that are going to be coming across the map momentarily.
Yeah, at this point it looks like, I'm not entirely sure what Hawkeye was going for. It looked like he did mess up his power a bit, and Bloodaxe was able to put out some very good bombers, and a lot of that plus some good aura harassment overall just messed up Hawkeye the whole time.
And it looks like the main base is coming under a little bit of fire now. Those Auroras doing a little bit of damage, but unfortunately they're putting most of it into the factory, so they're not actually going to be able to score any more kills. And Hawkeye, well, he's throwing down a T1 AA just to try and ward off the air game a little bit from Bloodaxe, but it is just a little bit too late because the damage has been done. The engineers do get to work on some power. We can see there's a few more PGNs queued up there. How is he going? He is sitting on -14, so he's still burning off mass. So every piece of mass that he can't spend because he's got no power is a piece of mass that Bloodaxe effectively earns, and he is just going to use it to consolidate his advantage. He's building up even more T1 forces. His ACU is... where did he get to? He popped up into the top right corner. He has taken that expansion. He is sitting on 69, just popping up to 71 mass per tick compared to the 31 mass per tick of Hawkeye. So Hawkeye just having a little bit of a problem still keeping his power grid online and being able to generate enough mass. He's going, well, he's getting a few T1 AA out just to try and take down the air game. I'm not sure that he has seen what is coming because there is a large horde of Auroras coming this way, and of course Auroras can outrange that stock ACU, and that is going to be even more problematic for Hawkeye once those ACUs do just corner him, and not looking good.
Yeah, from Hawkeye's POV, he doesn't have a radar. He can't see a projectile, so the auras just coming towards him, but he has no radar. He has no way of telling what can actually happen, and if he doesn't get a radar or some kind of eyes, pretty soon these auras are going to be on top of the ACU, and he'll be forced to retreat into the water and probably lose much of his remaining territory.
Alright, he is charging forward. He's going to try and take it to those Auroras, but of course he probably hasn't seen the full extent of that T1 army. He's going to try and chase it down. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even bother running for the water at this point, if he just goes to try and take out those Auroras. Of course, the lower health on the Auroras does mean that they are more susceptible to the ACU's cannon. He is going to be able to deal a reasonable amount of damage, but of course the range advantage that the Auroras have are going to be the end of him. The ACU is quite slow. He's not going to be able to compete, and we can see now he is starting to take a little bit of fire that he can't actually answer because of the range disadvantage. Sitting on 7,800 health, he is down into the yellow, and he is now heading back towards base. It does mean that there's a little bit of reclaim there, but mass so far is not Hawkeye's problem. He has got plenty of mass. He's had a lot of trouble spending everything he's got. He has managed to get a little bit of a handle on that now. He is now not maxed out on mass. He has got just enough power to spend what he's got, but still very problematic. He is trying to get a number of land factories online in the center here. He needs to try and get a bit of spam. He's not completely dead yet. If Blood Axe Noob underestimates him and maybe just sits there and does nothing, it might give Hawkeye a little bit of a chance.
Actually, interestingly enough, Blood Axe Noob should be more capable. If you look back at his base, so he's stopping his Tech 1 spam. He actually has a Tech 3 land factory upgrade over 70% done, and maybe if we're lucky, we'll see some last-second endgame Harbinger action.
Yeah, so I think that is probably why he's holding off on those Auroras. He's not charging them in because right now they could actually get in there and pretty much kill that ACU, but I think he is, as you said, playing with his food just a little bit. He's going for the Harby rush. He is going to get some of those guys online. He's actually got T2 power as well, so definitely no power problems at all for Blood Axe. He is running away with this game. Actually, he's on 1.3k power to 360 for Hawkeye. He is on 4 times the income for mass, and he is just absolutely running away with it. So he is just going to cheekily build a few Harbingers and then run in. I'm not sure that Hawkeye, well, even if he does have power storage, he does not have the eco generation to be able to run his overcharge cannon, so just a couple of Harbingers is going to be able to send that ACU on its way, and it looks like Blood Axe is just piling his Auroras up in the top there. He is just going to sit back, let them relax, and watch the show, and there's actually a TAC missile launcher as well. So Serpentine there for Blood Axe, and I'm not sure what good he can do with that unless he gets an ACU hit, but he doesn't need it at this point because he's got some Harbingers inbound, but he would be able to take out some Tech 2 mexes if there were any for Hawkeye, and Hawkeye is running pretty much entirely off T1 mexes at this point, so this game is all but over, and we are just waiting for those Harbingers to pop out, and we can see the first one just about ready to start making its way over towards Hawkeye's ACU. He probably wants to get a second one online just to, well, actually there's a transport there, but that's full of engineers, so he's not going to use transports to get Harbingers to the front line. He's going to let them walk, and well, actually that was the second Harbinger because the other one is already halfway across the map, and they are just making their way over, and it looks like Hawkeye managing to do a little bit of a fight with that submarine, which actually just goes down to Blood Axe's submarine, and Blood Axe just going in.
Hawkeye is trying to push out there on the north side. He is spamming with 8 Tech 1 land factories. I don't know if he'll be able to do much, but he is going to try a fight to the very end, and he is killing some units, but his little small push is unsuccessful.
Yeah, he is very heavily stalled on mass at the moment. He is at minus 20. He's managing to pick up a little bit. There is a reasonable amount of reclaim going down in his immediate vicinity because that is where all the action is, but those Auroras are just outranging the strikers, and it's just going to be a little bit of a problem. Where are those Harbingers? They have grouped up a little bit more. They are rounding that bend, and they will be heading towards the ACU in just a moment. And do we have any more Harbingers? It looks like he's just continuing to spam Harbies, and yes, just more coming out of the factory.
Yes,
so
he's currently at 3 Harbingers, 4th one underway, it looks like. And they're all going the same direction.
and that
up on that west side.
That TAC missile launcher's got 1 in the chamber, but he doesn't actually look like he's used it for anything yet, so 0 kills on that guy. And to be honest, there's not really any targets of opportunity, and actually Hawkeye has paused all of those land factories now. He is going, and where is he spending his eco? It could be for the ACU upgrade that he's going for, so he's going for a little bit of a Rambo com, and he is going to go out in style. And it looks like Blood Axe is going to try and push it back into the base just to isolate that commander even more, because that ACU is, well, he's going to be a little bit dangerous. He's getting another upgrade, and
And
Well,
it's just a drone upgrade. But Hawkeye is going to go in, try to kill some of the enemy auras with his ACU. But of course, killing auras with a UEF ACU gun upgrade is satisfying because with gun upgrade, a UEF ACU can basically one-shot auras. So that is pretty amusing to watch.
That's right.
Making me kill before the Harbinger tide rolls over.
And interestingly enough, those Harbingers have not gone straight for the ACU. They've actually just gapped back into the base, and they're just continuing to destroy the eco and production for Hawkeye. So I'm not quite sure what the plan is there. The third Harbinger is just making its way in now. Those two Harbies now coming within range of the ACU, starting to do a little bit of damage, and they've actually managed to regen their shields reasonably well, although it looks like maybe a little bit of a power stall there for Blood Axe because those shields drop down momentarily and the Harbies start to take fire. So he does want to keep those shields online, so he needs to make sure that he... Oh, and it's Control K there for Hawkeye. He is giving up now that he's spotted there are Harbingers in his base, and he is still on T1. So, a little bit of a problem there for Hawkeye. The early bomber doing a fantastic job at disabling his eco, and let's jump out of here. And
wait, you say Control K?
Did he not?
It looked like the Harbingers focused fire and got him.
I was perhaps not quite paying enough attention there. So that
yeah, the Harbingers focused fire and killed him about 3 or 4.
In a few shots, because yes, of course, it does not take many shots at all from a Harbinger, and the AC was not able to overcharge because he didn't have any power. He had no eco left. That early bomber absolutely destroying his eco and destroying the game for him. So that was the end of that one. So that is a chalk up a win to the ONI clan. UEF not able to quite take that one out. Okay, have we got any more of our games underway at this point that we can jump into?
I am currently checking. I'll go ahead and try to click in, see if I can click in on one of the... Let's see. All right, yeah, I'm gonna try clicking on a Hazael's game and see if they got that 3v3 going, because there was a 3v3 that filled between SNF and JEW, and of course that is gonna be Iceland.
All right. So it looks like their game is underway enough that we can jump into it, and so we're going to get a little bit of 3v3 action underway very shortly, and that is going to start the 3v3 portion of the IGC. And of course we've been through our 1v1 and 2v2 matches, and we are now starting to see 3v3, and we will ultimately end up with a 4v4 or 2, and that's going to be very interesting. And the game has actually loaded, so we can jump into that now.
And of course, just a little thing to point out for those of you who've forgotten already, for the 3v3 there is for 3v3 and 4v4 you are able to get more points for a win. In the in each 1v1 2v2 set, it is 3 points award to the winner, and then for the 3v3 it's 6 points, and the 4v4 8 points. So of course the team games obviously will matter more for single point gains and wins and losses, so this will be very interesting to see.
Alright, let's go in and have a look at who we have got playing. So, Philip J. Fry, he is for the JEW, the Joint Economy Warfare Clan. He has opted for UEF. In the centre for JEW we've got Hazael, and he is going for Seraphim, and on the right hand side we have got RoboGear opting for Cybran. Down in the south their opponents are the Special Noob Forces clan. We have got Try Hard Too Hard, well, that's an interesting rename of the ACU there. That is Chosen, he has opted for Aeon. In the centre there for SNF we have got Chicken Noob opting for Seraphim, and on the left hand side last but not least Cookie Noob going orange, and he is UEF. So how do the ratings stack up in this game? We've got Cookie Noob 1700, Chosen 1800, and Chicken Noob on 1700, and then in the north we've got 1600, 1700 and 1600. So a couple of hundred rating point advantage to the south, but nothing major, and anything could happen. So how are we going for early raids? We have got a little bit here. We've got a flare coming out. He's probably going to try and scoop around the outside and pick up any expanding and reclaiming engineers there for RoboGear, and so far they are reasonably unchallenged. They may get picked up by that radar, and we'll have to see if they get away with that raid or not. And over on the left here it looks like Philip J. Fry sending a couple of units down to give Cookie Noob a little bit of trouble, and those guys are probably going to be spotted, and it looks like they are going to start engaging that, and the Mech Marines are going to come up against Mech Marines for Cookie Noob, and there is a 2-to-1 advantage, but there is a striker coming up which is going to seal the deal for Cookie Noob. In the centre, we have got Chicken Noob being reasonably aggressive as well, sending a couple of scouts up the centre and a FAM to give those guys some support. We do have an ACU moving towards the centre though for Hazael, and that is going to easily deal with any T1 that gets thrown that way, because the ACUs are still all back at base for the SNF team, and it looks like we've got Philip J. Fry moving out as well, and it could be a coordinated push from the ACUs, and there's maybe a little bit of an opportunity here for a double team for a couple of ACUs to get in and disable one of the opponents, and so far it's looking like the top team JEW is being a little bit more aggressive with those ACUs.
And of course, another thing of importance to look at for middle incentive, of course, this is another map where the respective middle areas all do have reclaim as well. It's nothing too significant, but still enough to be worthwhile.
And that raid being reasonably successful there for Chosen. He has managed to skirt around the outside. He did take out the engineer that was reclaiming, and he's gotten all the way into the back of Hazael's base, and that is going to start laying down a little bit of damage, but unfortunately there is a FAM inbound. Well, actually he's going in the wrong direction, and it looks like Chosen might be able to pick up the engineers over this way, because the tanks for Hazael are just a little bit out of place and they are trailing those units. Alright, so nice little raid there, and it looks like Cookie Noob has decided to move out of his base, and he's starting to consolidate a few forces at the front line. And Philip J. Fry looking reasonably aggressive at the front, with a number of land factories going down for the adjacency bonus around that mass extractor, and he's going to start pumping T1 units out of those guys reasonably soon. And this little raid is still alive here for Chosen, so he is running right around the outside. He is able to outpace the THAM that was chasing him, and he's just going to come around and maybe even pick up a couple more engineered kills. How many kills are actually on that right now? 2. So a nice little effort there for not much cost for him. And there's actually a follow-up raid here. There are a couple of Auroras zooming around the outside, and they're going to continue to just put a little bit of pressure on. There's actually an expanding engineer coming back out to retake that area for RoboGear, and it looks like Chosen might be scooting right past him and let him through, which is maybe a little bit of a mistake. And we've actually got a response here from RoboGear. He's doing exactly the same thing. He has managed to get a couple of units into the back here. We've got a Mantis and a Hunter still alive, and they're starting to take fire from these Auroras. The extra range on the Auroras being very useful in this scenario and taking out those guys. But there is another raid coming in, but that will be spotted by the Interceptor that Chosen has got hovering around. But he doesn't want to land it there. He wants to make sure that he keeps that in the air, and he has done that. So now he's going to move against that raid. And have we got anything? We've got an edge build on the left-hand side there for Cookie Noob, and he is going to start producing some engineers, grab the extra mixes and reclaim, and give himself a little bit of an eco advantage. In terms of eco at the moment, it looks like we've got Cookie Noob and Philip J. Fry leading the pack. Well, RoboGear's just popped up to 21 to meet them, and Chicken Noob as well, so they're all sitting on 21 mass per tick, and then 19 for Hazael, and then, well, looks like there was a little bit of a power stall perhaps. No, Chosen, yeah, he must be power stalling. He's dropped down to 13 mass per tick. That's surely not accurate. Let's just have a quick look at what he's doing. And no, it's not power stall. He just hasn't built enough mixes yet, and he's lost a couple of them to those raids from RoboGear. So he does need to get that eco back up and running momentarily.
Also, one interesting decision that I like to put out there, Chicken Noob looks like he has decided to focus primarily on air. He has 2 air factories built up and only 1 land factory, so it looks like he's gonna try to go for the air control. Maybe he'll go for tech to air in this game, and then maybe we'll see a fighter bomber or gunship snipe at some point along the line, should this game progress far enough.
At the moment, it looks like he's putting most of his eco into that ACU upgrade in the centre there, which is just completed, and that'll be T2, so he might be thinking about throwing down some T2 PD to get rid of everything in the centre there. There is a T1 PD there from Hazael. Hazael is on upgrade as well.
Up with a gun upgrade, Chicken Noob. there.
He is too, so he's deciding to stay still for just a little while, and he's going to use that upgraded ACU. So he doesn't have a lot in the way of land forces. Like you said, there's just a single land factory online. He's going more for upgrades, and he is going to just push the centre with his ACU. There's only a couple of FAMs in the centre to support him, but with a beastly ACU, he will have no trouble clearing that out and pushing it back. Although if Hazael goes for a gun upgrade, then it might take a T2 PD to really push him out.
Nice land push by Philip J. Fry. He is currently trying to break through that wall line. Cookie Noob is building a point defense to try to counteract the units, but is too far to the left, and Philip can just reclaim the walls, and his strikers will slip through the wall, and it looks like they actually get, if they're not careful, they'll run into another point defense thing right off by Cookie's Hydro, and they have to be very careful if they want to go in and actually do any damage. It looks like they just halted.
And it looks like a little bit of a poor decision to go with T1 PD there, because there are Lobos in the mix for Philip J. Fry, and those guys are going to be able to take out those PD pretty quickly and without too much damage. So that's not going to work too well for him. He does need to get T2 if he wants to try and build a defensive line that will hold back Philip J. Fry at this point. And he's actually got a reasonable number of tanks online in the back, but he's not moving them forward. He's fronting with his ACU. It looks like he could be in a little bit of trouble there, because there's just a lot more online, and Chosen actually coming in with a bomber to help out and just to try and destroy some of those T1 units that are giving Cookie Noob so much trouble. So yeah, Cookie Noob just needing a little bit of assistance. Yeah,
Chosen does need to be very careful as well, because Chosen is if he's not careful and his army gets killed, he can potentially be pincered by Robogear and Hazael. He has to have 2 Tech 1 point defenses there, but he also has the ACU there from Robogear, so he has to be very careful, otherwise he could be pincered and would not end pretty. Yeah, he's actually getting the ACU from Robogear as well as the units from Hazael in the centre, and they're charging his ACU right now, so he's going to bring his units into support. He's got the 1 T1 PD and a number of Auroras he's bringing online, so he's probably not going to be in too much trouble here, but it does mean that Robogear is a little bit free at the top to be able to throw units down at him. He does actually have a T2 PD, so there's an Oblivion turret up just there, and that is going to help do a little bit more damage, and he could potentially catch Robogear now. Robogear is sitting on 13.5k max HP, so it's going to take a little bit more than these Auroras to get rid of him, so Robogear is just going to back up. And we can see now there is that T2 PD from Chicken Noob, and that is starting to go to work on the centre position. Let's just check the range of that. And yeah, a T2P now has also gone from Hazael. Ironically enough, both Chicken and Hazael both have T2P, so we might see a little PD creep war potentially now be used to see if anything. Hazael looking a little bit low on health there. He's sitting on 7k, so he's down into the yellow. He is taking quite a lot, but looks like Chicken Noob will actually have to back up a little bit, because he is taking that T2 PD fire. That is not something that he wants to continue to do. And there's actually a Cerberus turret online there for Robogear, starting to head away at the T1 PD for Chosen. So Chosen responding with an Oblivion turret of his own, but it is within range of that Cerberus, so that's going to make it a little bit hard, and he's trying to get that built, but he's having a little bit of a tug of war with that Cerberus, and down that goes. Now, Philip J. Fry is still looking very, very dangerous here on the left, and Cookie Noob trying to get that wall section back up and repaired, but he is down in the yellow. He's sitting on 7,600 HP, and there is quite a lot of T1 sitting outside his base, just giving him a little bit of trouble. Has he opted for a T2 shift? Is he going to be grabbing a pile of pillars? It doesn't look like he is actually going to have anything like that online soon, so he's going to be in a defensive position for quite some time against Philip J. Fry. It's a lot more fluid on the right hand side here, where we've got the PD creeps, but they're sort of creeping into each other and going back and forth a little bit, and Chicken Noob continuing to take T2 PD fire. His own PD is actually down into the red, 395 HP left, so not doing too well at all. Speaking of Chicken Noob, interestingly enough, I guess he did this pretty stealthy. He does have a 3rd air factory, and it actually is Tech 2 currently. He's only making air scepters at the moment, but he is building Tech 2 power, and after that, it'll be interesting to see what kind of Tech 2 air units he might make with it.
Yes,
and
he's
what kind
blocked
of tactics you have to go for.
a lot of assistance on that. He's pumping out those interceptors very, very quickly. He easily has air control right now. There's a reasonable number of interceptors in the middle there for Hazael, but I think with the 3 air factories and all that assistance, it does mean that Chicken Noob would easily be able to take air. There is also a few interceptors online for Philip J. Fry. He's got a little bit of an air force of his own, and it looks like Cookie Noob has managed to seal up the breach in his wall, and he is now just using a couple of Lobos to go and harass those units there for Philip J. Fry, who is actually on an upgrade. So we could see a shift up to maybe T2 and some Triad turrets going down, which is going to be a little bit of a problem for Cookie Noob because he doesn't have any T2 at the moment. Actually, he is also on upgrade, so he'll probably be going for T2 as well to continue their point defense war. And we can see that Hazael has actually shifted up to T2 land, and he's got some Ilshivas out. There is one in the center there and one going across to assist Robo Gear, and that is because Chosen is still applying a reasonable amount of pressure here, and he's just continuing to try and PD creep. But it looks like Hazael is actually going to scoot around that PD and try and do a little bit of damage. He is probably going to get a few of those tanks in and maybe be able to take out the Hydro and the radar as well. That'll be a very nice target of opportunity, and this one mech's in there. So
air battle on the left side. Chicken Noob does kill Philip J. Fry's air force, and it's now currently battling out Zal's air force. And it looks like it could go either way, but
yeah, very, very close. I think Chicken he was just slightly ahead, but I'm not sure that he's going to be able to continue. He's got more interceptors pouring in though.
Yeah. It looks like poor Microwing is actually going to cost him this air battle.
And another big push there from Philip J. Fry. We can see Cookie Noob did get to T2, but he is taking an absolute battering. He is trying to get a shield online. He's got his units out of position. He's down into the yellow, 56 or 4900 HP. He is taking way too much damage. Down into the red, 3000 HP. He is probably not going to survive this because he has just not got enough left to be able to do it. And Philip J. Fry taking absolutely no damage whatsoever, and Cookie Noob is just going down. That is the end of that. So a nice push there from Philip J. Fry, and that leaves SNF a man down, and that is going to be very problematic because there is a big army on the left that Philip J. Fry can bring to bear, and there is nothing to stop him at the moment, especially with Cookie Noob focusing on air. It leaves pretty much just Chosen in the land game, and that is going to be very problematic. We've got a gunship.
Cookie Noob is starting to make gunships, so hopefully he'll be able to take advantage of that with his air advantage to maybe he'll be able to get a snipe, maybe he'll just use it for defensive capabilities. Will be very interesting to see. And also from let me check a Robo Gear in the middle, there is a TML, and it doesn't look like it's been used yet, but it is there and it is almost loaded, and we'll see where that goes.
Alright, now it looks like Philip J. Fry on another upgrade there, and well, the gunships for Chicken Noob, they could potentially get Philip J. Fry's ACU because he doesn't have any ground-based air support at the moment. There are a number of interceptors for himself and for Hazael, and if Chicken Noob is able to take those interceptors out, then that would give him an opportunity to get those gunships in and do a little bit of damage, but that gunship has actually just been scouted, so it looks like Hazael will be now aware that there are a gunship or two in the field, and they will be able to respond accordingly. So Philip J. Fry, well, he's just going to push up a little bit. He does have T2 on that ACU, so he can throw up some static flak if he needs to, and that won't be too much trouble to ward away a couple of gunships that Chicken Noob is going to be able to put out. So at the moment, the eco is definitely Chicken Noob in the lead. He's sitting on 41 mass per tick. Following him is Philip J. Fry on 35. Well, actually, Chosen is sitting on 36. And then down to Hazael on 31 and RoboGear on 19. So the harassment on RoboGear is definitely showing that he is been struggling a little bit to ward off what Chosen has, and we can actually see those TMLs coming in now. There are some T2 mixes that have no TMD at all guiding them, and down goes one for Chosen, and the other one is about to go down, and that is going to hit Chosen in the pocket very hard. And there are mobile missile launchers on the front line, and they are starting to take out the T2 PD.
Aside from that, Chosen has sent a land force to the left side, has given to Chicken Noob, so Chicken actually does have a small land force he can kind of push back with, hopefully regain that territory. Because if he can hold that eco and start, getting the benefit out of it, then maybe he'll be able to. It could be possible he could carry. We'll just have to wait and see. Chosen is in a PD war with RoboGear at the moment. He is focusing on RoboGear's ACU right now. And 7K, but he will back up, and as he treats simultaneously mobile missile launchers.
Yes, and Chosen and Chicken Noob have both sent their interceptors in. They took out the last of the air that the North team had, so that means that they've got clear air control right now. We can see a number of T1AA going down there from Philip J. Fry's ACU. That's going to just help protect him a little bit, and the gunships, well, there's actually not too many gunships after all that. He's switched back to interceptor production. It does mean that they are going to hold an advantage in the air, but they are definitely starting to struggle on the ground. They have started to take the base from Cookie Noob, so they're picking up all the reclaim and rebuilding the mixers and starting to get that underway, and the ACU is up front for Chicken Noob.
Chosen does lose his last C2 mechs to another TML, which is still alive. He should have his, I'm not sure if his Oblivions are in range, but if they are, they should focus down that tactical missile launcher. One of them is just in range. He should focus it down, but even so, the damage is already done regardless, and that TML is paid for itself. And of course, now on the left side, Philip J. Fry is now making a Tech 2 PD. He's going to try to keep that left side for himself, but of course, Chicken Noob does have the majority of the mass extractors there from the starting base and the recon there. So props. So that's a 1-up to him.
Alright, so yes, it looks like the Triad, there's 2 Triads online now, and they're going to just start peppering away at the expansion plans. Of course, Triads have got a little bit of an advantage over the Tech 2 PD for Seraphim, in that he can build them just out of range, ground fire just in front, and the area of effect will damage the Seraphim PD. So Philip J. Fry would definitely be able to push if he was going to focus there. Of course, he could also switch up to mobile missile launchers, as we see RoboGear has done on the right hand side, and he is now very effectively pushing forward, and Chosen just moving his ACU back a little bit. He still has a couple of PD online and a single tech missile defense there. Of course, the Aeon tech missile defense is very effective at warding off a number of missiles at once.
It actually looks like Zell actually has Tech 3 land now. He actually has a few FAMs out, and he actually has a Tech 3 mobile heavy artillery out as well. And he is moving those FAMs up with his ACU for the middle. He's going to push up to Chicken Noob's base, and Chicken's not going to have much to fend off against an ACU and FAMs.
We can see there is
my bad.
There's a lot of blue, a lot of, well, light blue in the center there, but unfortunately it's mostly interceptors. They will be able to take out the interceptors that Hazael is bringing with him, but that does mean that, well, actually Hazael is going to have to be a little bit careful here. He's actually throwing up some T1AA. I was going to say he is a little bit vulnerable to an air attack right now, and he's actually decided to abandon that T1AA and walk back. Those 2 gunships slowly eating through. He's down to just over 12,000 HP, and he is going to have to get back within range of some anti-air, and an overcharge from Chicken Noob deals with that first off him, but the artillery fire starts to rain in and start hitting that factory. I'm not sure if he's targeting the factory or the ACU, but in any case, Chicken Noob doesn't have anything to answer that right now. He is sitting on a pretty good eco. He's on 55 mass per tick, so he has got the eco that he needs to be able to fight back, but I'm not sure that he's just got enough production to make use of it. He's probably just invested a little bit too much in that eco. We can see a large number of Tech 2 PGents. He's very far out in the lead with 2.2k power, and that is compared to Hazael on 1.1 in second place for power generation. So a big advantage to him. I'm not sure that he has enough to be able to use that advantage at this point though, because there's just so much land coming in. That T3 artillery is going to probably go down to those gunships, but a couple of flaks in the region will easily be able to dispatch those, so gunships are a bit of a stopgap. They are not going to last for very long. Interestingly, it looks like RoboGear not continuing to press his advantage. He's got a big stack of mobile missile launchers on the right hand side here, but he's not actually using them. That number could overwhelm a few Aeon TMDs and start to break through, but at the moment they're actually doing no work at all, so he probably wants to get those into play. Actually, it looks like he has now given that order, and they are heading down to start firing on Chosen's position. So Chosen got a single TAC missile defense up. He's got a TAC missile launcher of his own and Oblivion, and he's throwing down another TMD. So that single TMD is going to do a reasonable job, but it's just taking too much fire. How many TAC missile or mobile missile launchers are there? There's about 10 firing down on him, so just nothing that he can do. He's actually down into the yellow. He's sitting on 6k HP, so well under half HP, and he is taking a lot of fire. He needs to keep that ACU moving. He will die very quickly if he tries to stand his ground against those mobile missile launchers. Another volley coming in. A nice little deflection there from the volcano, but unfortunately just not quite enough, and that's very effectively actually picking them up because they're not targeting the volcano. The entire volley each time is being distracted by the flare that comes out of it, and that volcano is actually surviving because they are focusing on another target. And their attack missile launcher, where is that? How's it going?
Is actually now reclaiming his attack missile launcher with a single Tech 2 engineer. He has lost his volcano, but if he's able to finish quick enough, he will get the mass out. He knows it won't really be able to be much use anymore, and that's exposed, so he'd much rather just take back the mass and use it for other things.
He's still continuing to build the missile while he's doing that, though. I'm not sure whether he's trying to complete the missile first. Well, that's not going to happen, so it looks like he wasted a little bit of mass by continuing to build that missile while he was reclaiming it and was never going to finish it, so a little bit of a problem there. The attack missile launchers actually consume a reasonable amount, and he is still trying to recover from that snipe where he lost all his eco. He's sitting on 16 or 14 mass per tick at the moment, which is extremely low. He does have some T2 mexes back up, and it looks like he should probably be on slightly more than that. Perhaps he is power stalling. Let's just have a quick look. Yes, he is massively power stalling, 400 in the red, and well, that is no good for mass generation. Of course, mexes do need power to continue generating mass, and when you power stall, you also start to waste mass. And a couple of off-thems there from Zale just scooting around the back. Those guys are going to be very difficult. The only thing in the area is a couple of Auroras, and those guys are not going to last very long at all against a couple of off-thems, and those off-thems are probably going to be able to get right into the back here, take out the power, take out the mexes for Chicken Noob, and that is going to be a serious problem. Philip J. Fry just looking content on sitting here, shielding up. He's perhaps thinking there might be a snipe incoming, so he is throwing another shield up just to keep his ACU nice and safe. He's got a number of T2 PD. He's actually managed to get some spearheads out. That's very interesting. We don't often see those guys, and he is using those to assault the left-hand side that Chicken Noob has taken, where Cookie Noob started out.
Yes, and that will be problem for him because not only do they fire more missiles than the regular mobile missile launcher, but they also do slightly more damage as well. Up to a page and see how much damage per shot. But beside that, those off-thems do continue their push, and at this rate, they will reach the Tech 2 power in Chicken Noob space. And if they do that, then that could be a problem. But I think, let me check. Chicken Noob does have RAS, and he is getting a RAS, so he'll probably get Tech 3 air very soon if he hasn't, if those offenses don't do too much damage. And of course from there he'll be able to probably get air control.
And we can see that he's actually been a nice teammate and gifted a couple of those T2 PGNs across to Chosen to alleviate his power stall.
Exploded.
There he goes, boom. And so those off-thems, there's a gunship raining down some fire on them, but it's going to take a long time to chew through the HP on those guys, and they are going to be able to run right through this entire crowd of factories, mixers, power and engineers, and that is probably going to be the death knell. There is just nothing that Chicken Noob has in the back. He's over EQ'd perhaps a little bit too much. He is sitting on 71 mass per tick still, so he's doing very well in the eco game, but he just has no units to deal with the units that are coming his way. So just a little bit of a case of over ecoing, and well,
and one current thing is a bit of a shame for Chicken Noob. He has to have the gun, he has to have his ACU, he's pushing in. He only just now got energy storage. Of course, that's unfortunate. He should have he should be able to get as soon as he finishes RAS. He could avoid some extra damage there, but regardless, he's done, and now he does have 2 FAMs to reclaim, and Chosen has lost his gifted Tech 2 power.
That's right. Now, he did have overcharge before. We saw him overcharge the first off-them that came his way, so it must have been taken out. It was probably in the back of his base, right where those off-thems rolled on in and took him out. And those spearheads have finished with the old Cookie Noob base, and they're moving forward again to continue their rain of fire down. There are a decent number of TMDs floating around, but against those spearheads, there is just not a lot that can be done. Those TMDs, the first one has just gone down. Second one managing to take out a couple of missiles, but the shields and defense is just not going to last too long against that stack of spearheads, and there are just no units. I'm not quite sure what Chicken Noob's approach is going to be now. He is still out in front in terms of eco.
I think Chicken Noob, he's going to try to hold out a Fortify for now. He does have Tech 3 land. He's upgrading to Tech 3 air, which is currently above 15%, and he's actually, I don't know if you can see it, but he's actually starting a FAF, of course, what we know is a experimental chicken assault bot. And I don't know where he's going to gain the mass. He's currently at 88 mass, but it looks like he's actually been pretty good on it. So that'll be interesting to see how quickly they'll complete it. If so, there could be a game changer. I don't see, there's not really any Percivals or Rabbit Phillips, just a few spirits, so he'll be able to do a lot of damage with that chicken if he's able to complete it.
It looks like Philip J. Fry's approach at the moment is just to use the spearheads to wear down the defences, and we actually see a couple of Percivals coming in on transports to augment that front line from him, but it looks like he is content to sit back and pepper away at the defences with those spearheads, and it looks like Chicken Noob is just going to throw up a large number of TMDs just to try and stop that, and if he can stop it for long enough to get that chicken online, which is now sitting at about 1/3 completion, so if he can get that online, it will be able to walk its way through Philip J. Fry's position pretty handily. There are not too many Percivals, actually there's just the one Percival at the front there, there's a few PD, but nothing that can actually stop a Ythotha, or Ythotha, or however you want to say it, at this point. Another little move of Otham's around the back, this time accompanied by T3AA, and those guys may be wandering around. They might be thinking about getting into the back of the base, doing a little bit more damage, and just trying to hurt the eco. Well, Chicken Noob's still managing to sit on 88, even though he did take that hit to his eco, 88 mass per tick, and he is throwing everything he's got into that Thota. It's actually going up reasonably fast. It's over 50% now. It is going to get completed, I would have to say, because Philip J. Fry is just not pushing. There is, even if with the T1 army that he has, accompanied by that Percival and the ACU, he could probably make a severe dent, because Chicken Noob just has nothing on the ground that can do any damage. It would be pretty much his ACU against the entire army of Philip J. Fry, but Philip just sitting back and resting on his laurels a little bit after taking out Cookie Noob, and that could potentially be his undoing. How is the Ethota going? And that is coming up on 75% completed. I wonder if Chosen is also throwing him a little bit of mass to get that completed, because there's not a lot of production out for Chosen. It looks like it might be a little bit of a all-in bet for the SNF clan. And a single Ethota, if he takes out Philip J. Fry, takes out the ACU and vets up on a lot of this T1 around here, that could actually end the game. Let's just have a quick look at the north side, because we haven't done much of that at the moment. We can see T3 there for RoboGear. He is currently just sitting there, actually just upgrading.
Zell is building his own chicken, but it's nowhere near as close to being done, nor is it building as fast. At this rate, unless Philip retreats his ACU, I think Philip will die. He has the spearheads here, so he only has 3 Percies and some T2P, and that is enough firepower for a chicken to take in and kill an ACU simultaneously. And Philip doesn't exactly have shield either. Chosen is just stabilizing his right side again, but he has lost some of his tech to Mex again, and he actually has a point defense sitting on that little hill in the center, shooting at stuff in Robo's little base, and his PDs can't hit that point defense, so Robo's just going to go ahead and reclaim it because his point defenses can't hit, but it can
that is
hit
very
his
nice
stuff. Yes.
Oh, he reclaimed it. Yes, I see. Yes. Very nice move there, because yeah, that was just out of range. Those spearheads continuing to rain fire down on Chicken Noob, but Chicken Noob has now got a chicken online that has been scouted by Philip J. Fry, though, so he will be aware of it. And well, I was kind of expecting him to go straight for Philip J. Fry on the left, but it looks like he might actually be going straight up the centre for Hazael, and if he can take out Hazael, that will take out the chicken that is under construction on the top, that is sitting at about 3/4 done at this point, so it will be able to get completed reasonably soon, and Hazael is actually backing up his ACU, so that is going to save him a little bit. The chicken now redirecting and heading across to Philip J. Fry.
Yes. At the very least, if he can clear that left side, he'll get a lot of mass, and he can just build another one ideally, so it wouldn't be a bad idea. But now his Tech 3 Air is finished as well, so maybe he'll build some strats. The enemy still has nothing but Tech 1 Air, looks like, so he could just build some strats and some ASFs and, you know, just strat down the enemy team. He does have that capability, so he wants to use it. He has that option.
Right, that Thoda now walking through that base that Philip J. Fry spent so long constructing, and he actually control K's all of the T1 to avoid giving the vet over to the Thoda, and that's going to mean there's just a little bit left for him to dispatch. And Philip J. Fry in full retreat now because there is just nothing that he can do. He is bringing a Percival in on that transport. I bet the goal there is to drop it behind the Thoda and start hitting it in the back with the fire from that. There are a number of interceptors come down on that and manage to take it out. A very nice play there from Chicken Noob. Even though those guys are out of fuel, they still managed to take that out, and we've got a few ASF online as well. And are we going to see some strap bombers soon? There's going to be a little bit of eco freed up now because Chicken Noob has finished building the Thoda.
Zale's chicken is just now finishing. It's going to the left side, it looks like, and it will try counteract the chicken for Chicken Noob. And we'll see if Chicken Noob matches to vet before that happens.
The Thoda is taking a reasonable amount of damage. Actually, the spearhead's managing to hit it. They are most likely firing behind the chicken, but because it's walking in a straight line and it is so tall, it's actually walking straight into the missiles, and that is managing to just hit it and continue to do damage. So that's actually very fortunate there for Philip J. Fry, because those missiles continuing to hit. Chicken Noob probably wants to use a little bit of a zigzag on that Thoda there just to stop all of those missiles hitting. He's down into the yellow, 40k HP, and he is not going to be able to get much in the way of veterancy before the Thoda there for Zale comes into play, and that is probably going to mean that that is just a gifted mass, although he's not too far away from hitting the ACU for Philip J. Fry, so it will be a bit of a question of whether he can catch up to the ACU, take it out before he gets dispatched by the other Thoda. And he's actually starting to take fire now, and he is starting to hit the ACU. A nice hit there, down into the yellow, 9400 HP, but he is down into the red himself. He is going to go down without any kind of compensation for the other team, and Chosen goes down to T3 on the other side. So I believe there are a bunch of bricks under that very bright light. There's also some T3 artillery, so a valiant effort by the noobs in the south, but unfortunately that chicken just not quite reaching its full potential, and it leaves Hazel with a chicken of his own right there. There are some strats, so not completely out of it yet because he does have air control, so that's still with Chicken Noob, but unfortunately he is about to come under fire from T3 artillery and from bricks, and it just doesn't look terribly good for those guys. So the strat bomber coming in, going straight for the ACU. He is sitting on 6200 HP. He loses one. It looks like he's going for a hover bomb. The T1 AA doing a little bit of damage to that strat bomber, but he goes down.
It's going to go for the ACU. It's going to try a hover bomb. Yep, it's going for a Philip J. Fry's ACU. It's going to try a hover bomb. He is going to pass this next bomb, and he kills him. Philip J. does go down finally, and it looks like he might try to, maybe he'll try to strat someone else, but now, now the left side's completely open. He does have that chicken to deal with, but he can deal with that chicken and on the left and the 4 bricks and Arties on the right. Then he might be able to pull through, but he doesn't exactly have much working for him. His power is still on -3000. He is positive mass, and he's down to a single air factory.
Yeah, he's throwing out some gunships from that now to try and deal with the incoming threat from RoboGear. I'm not sure that he's going to be able to do too much. Those bricks have just got such a large amount of HP. He's got nothing left to be able to deal with those guys. It's going to take a very long time for the T2 gunships to work their way through their HP. Although he's bringing the ACU in, he's going to overcharge and take care of them that way. So that will dispatch that, but the Thoda is coming in. There is not much he can do. There is T3 anti-air in the vicinity for Hazel. There is also T3 anti-air back at base for him, so a snipe on Hazel's ACU is not going to probably work. Is the ACU in a vulnerable position for RoboGear? Not particularly. There are a bit of AA around, especially there's mobile AA, so bounces there for the Cybran. They will be able to defend reasonably well, and those bricks of course outranging the ACU for Chicken Noob. He's taking an awful lot of fire down to 11k HP into the yellow. There are still 4 bricks. They are backing up. They are going to be able to deal a death blow to that ACU before he can do anything. Manages to take one of those guys out with the strat bomber, and another strat bomber coming in, taking another one out. He's still down at the yellow, 2700 HP. He is backing up with his ACU now. He's going to stay alive for just a moment longer. Those bricks coming back in, and he is sitting on 1500, 1200. Those bricks absolutely destroying him. He needs to get another overcharge off ASAP, and actually he manages to get a rank of veterancy, and he goes up to, well, he's sitting on 3300 HP right now. Needs to get that overcharge in, and
storage, and the last brick will end him.
There we go. So that last brick, 1200, 1000 HP, 600, 500, and he is about to go boom, and we get a little desync window popping up, but that is of no consequence because that is still a win to the JEW Joint Economy Warfare clan. So, very, very interesting. They managed to take Cookie Noob out. They managed to continue dispatching. They took Chosen, and then finally Chicken Noob, and took out the win. Was a nice move there from Chicken Noob to be able to take out Philip J. Fry's ACU, but unfortunately in the end it did not help.
Yeah, that was a pretty big gamble, and in the end it wasn't as effective as it could have been.
Yeah, very, very nice bit of play there. The earlier Thoda I felt could have done such a large amount of work, but it was scouted, and unfortunately it was just not going to be. And then he turned his back to Hazael's Thoda, and that was the end of that one. So he did practically no damage for the loss of that T4, and that gave a full health Thoda with a bunch of veterancy coming up, and that was able to just waltz through, make its way through, and take out Chicken Noob's base, and that left him pretty much dead. So, a valiant fight. They fought until the end, but it was not quite enough, and the Joint Economy Warfare clan does pick up a few points there for that 3v3, and that puts them in a pretty good stead. We haven't managed to pick up any of the 1v1 or 2v2s for those guys. Actually, we did see a 2v2 on Coastal Bridge, and that was a win for SNF, but of course the 3v3 is worth a few more points, so it does give JEW a nice little point of reference to start their campaign. Of course, this is going to be about 8 weeks for the Intergalactic Colosseum Season 7, and that is going to keep running. The points will accrue from week to week. The clans will battle it out. They'll be battling a different clan each week in 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, and 4v4 formats, and that is going to be very, very interesting and give us a lot of games to look back on over the next couple of months. Alright, let's see if we can pick up another game now. What have we got? Beast Mode Guns.
There is a 4v4 going for the UEF versus ONI, and we're actually seeing a very nice lineup coming up for each side. Blood so far for ONI looks like they're going to be deploying with Blood Axe Noob, Gogi, and a Super, who were all there previously, and now they are adding Lenos to their lineup. He's a pretty decent team player. And then for the UEF lineup so far, there's once again Apophis and Noir are going to be there, and then they're going to have LIL Sid, LIL, otherwise known as Democracy, also playing on their lineup, and then one more member. And of course, this is going to be the 4v4, which will be on Diversity, which is a fairly unique map, if I will say myself.
Excellent. So if that game looks like it is currently in the lobby, it is going to get underway shortly. They seem to be just waiting for one more player. Have we got a game that is currently running that we can jump into? Ravager Noob, it looks like he is in a game according to the game lobby. Do we have that game that you were just describing is UEF versus ONI, so perhaps SNF is already in their 4v4.
And it looks like this. I'm going to click in on a RoboGears map. Swords, and it looks like they are on Diversity, so they are already in their game.
All right, let's
final
head into that.
SNF versus JEW match, which will be the 4v4 on Diversity.
All right, so
4v4 is the final matchup of the day.
All right, so streaming today definitely favouring the SNF matchup because the games just seem to be a little bit numerous. All right,
they're the only ones who've gotten their matches in due to the messiness of week 1.
Yes, of course, if you haven't caught up with us, we did have 9 clans to start with, I believe, but unfortunately GB was not able to field enough players, so they have dropped out. That's caused a little bit of a reshuffle. The E clan was on a bye this week, but then they were brought back into play, so the E versus, was it Vor, I believe?
Yeah, they will be facing Vor at any point this week. They get to reschedule Vor as long, and they can play their matches anytime between now and next Sunday when the second round starts. So and of course, that will be main matchups for this tournament on its own.
That automatically means that there's a lot fewer games for us to stream, so that is why there's a little bit more focus on SNF, which is the Special Noob Forces, and they are just about to play the JEW clan, the Joint Economy Warfare, on Diversity in a 4v4, which of course is worth lots of points towards the clan totals for the Intergalactic Colosseum. Let's just, so we're just getting ready, and I might just quickly throw up the map pool as well, in case anybody has just joined us. So let's go ahead and just quickly show these guys and talk about what we've been seeing today and what we are going to, well, we're just at the end of this. So we saw 1v1 on Craftius Maximus, we saw Cloud Kingdom, we've seen a few games of that go down already today, and then the finals for the 1v1s were on White Fire if they were necessary, and then we shifted up to 2 versus 2 formats. Of course, the IGC's got lots of different formats in it, and in the 2v2s we see games on Coastal Bridge, so we did manage to pick up a game on there, and then following Coastal Bridge we've got Dual Archers.
Yeah, unfortunately we didn't pick up any games on that.
And then we switch up to the 3v3 format, and that is going to give us games on, well, Iceland's, which we've just seen, where the JEW clan managed to take out a win, and then finally we go up to 4v4 for maximum points, counting towards the IGC totals, and that is on Diversity. So that is where we are just about to head. We're going to jump down into the Diversity game of SNF versus JEW, and that game is underway, so we can get started, and let's switch over to it and get going. Alright, so we have got on the left, we have got SNF. In the top for him we've got, for them we've got Overrated Noob. He has opted for Seraphim. He is throwing down PGNs first, so we all know what that means. We'll come and revisit him in just a moment. We have got Ravager Noob opting for Seraphim. He is going to get his first land factory down and then get his PGNs and eco underway. Following him, we have got Chosen Noob, who is now going orange, and he is going for Aeon. He is throwing down his first land factory. No, actually he's going air factory first, so a couple of first air factories for these guys. And then in the south we've got Chicken Noob opting for Seraphim. Over on the right hand side, their opponents, the JEW clan, we've got Philip J. Fry opting for Seraphim. Of course, we've got Hover down over the water. Sorry?
The FAF IGC banner is still showing on the stream.
Let's get rid of that. That was a bit of a fail. Alright, so we have got Philip J. Fry and Seraphim in the south. Beside him, we've got Hazael once again. He is going for Aeon this time, and he is throwing down his first land factory, getting his eco underway, then going for some air. We've got RoboGear going white UEF. He's got his first land factory down, continuing his eco build. And last but not least, we've got VII. He is opting for Seraphim. So we see a lot of Seraphim players up by the water in the top and bottom, and that is going to give them a little bit of hover artillery to harass. And that first bomber is now out there for Overrated. He is heading over towards VII, and he is going to try and do some damage. There are some scouts up front for VII. He is going to pick up the radar signature of that bomber reasonably early, but he is going to not really have any time to react, and we'll have to see whether it's going to be power or engineering power that is going to be attacked. And the bomber has just stopped, and he's just deciding what the target is. He's trying to get a little bit of a hover bomb on the engineer, and he's got the bomb away. He gets a miss, and that is not going to count for much. And there is a T1 AA out now for VII, so that is going to ward away that bomber, and it does mean that he is going to head off towards RoboGear and start trying to do some damage. He's picked up an engineer on radar. He is going to dispatch that guy, and where is he going to head to next? Let's see. He's going to pick up another engineer kill, and he actually does not manage to get that in, and so that is just a single engineer so far for that bomber. And there's actually a second bomber down here from Chosen, who is starting to take out some engineers. So 2 first bombers for the SNF clan, and they are doing a little bit of damage. They have moved on to Hazael, and they're going to start trying to harass him. Perhaps they are going to take out some power. That would be a very valid target at this point, but we'll have to see what they do with it. There is a mobile AA floating around there for Hazael, and actually a couple more up here, so there's quite a bit that these guys have got ready to deal with those bombers. Of course, that does mean that the economy has been redirected away from building attack units and building into AA, so a little bit of an advantage there for SNF for those bombers, but they do need to make them count. We've got 3 kills on one and 3 kills on the other, so 6 kills so far, so just a little bit worth paying for. Alright, and down goes another engineer for that. So nicely done there. We've got a reasonably far forward ACU, and he is renamed to Parker Boy. That is an interesting name for Chosen, and he is being... well, he's using his ACU to come reasonably far forward. So far, the other ACUs are not really up the front. Philip J. Fry now starting to move, and Hazael right back at base. We've got RoboGear just starting to move forward, and it looks like VII is still way back at base. So not a lot of ACU movement. Quite often you do see the ACUs come reasonably far forward and fight it out in the middle. They take the extra mixers. They provide a lot of extra fire support. And interestingly, Chosen has actually opted for some PGNs out on the front line, which is maybe a little bit dangerous. He probably decided that he needed a little bit more power after he already had his ACU on the way to the centre. We've got a floaty artillery that's sitting in the back here for Chicken Noob. He is... well, has he managed to do any damage yet? I'm not sure that he has, but there is a mix there that he will be able to take out, just do a little bit of damage, and it will be responded to probably by this Zooey here for Philip J. Fry, and we'll have a little bit of a Zooey war, but so far nothing else going on there. A nice little raid from Philip. He's actually sent units all the way up to the centre to try and hit Ravager Noob. He's going to be able to take out that mix, but there are a few units coming in, and that is actually they're going to redirect.
On the top, Overrated is taking advantage of the fact that he's Seraphim. He is sending a couple Zooies across to VII, and he has prevented VII from building his Hydro. He has killed one of the mass extractors there. And he is, just that's a good thing for him, obviously, because that's a Hydra. That's worth 5 P-Vins. That's 5 less P-Vins worth of power in your pocket. And he's just simply taking advantage of the Seraphim Edge.
A little bit of a lack of micro there means that those Zooies do go down without doing any more damage, but they did take out the Hydro, so very effective target. And you can see another one just zooming around the top corner. And that is going to just come into the back of VIB's base and try and do a little bit more damage. And of course, if you can distract your opponent and waste some of their APM, that is going to give you an advantage. And a little bit of a wall section going down for VIB, so he's obviously trying to hem himself in a little bit, or perhaps he's trying to keep Overrated Noob out. We will never know, and he is going to just sit back in his base. And that does mean that there's a forward mix and a lot more territory that he is giving up to Overrated Noob, and could potentially give Overrated Noob the ability to help out one of his teammates, probably Ravager Noob right beside him, and double team one of the opponents. Of course, if you double team someone, puts a lot of extra pressure on them, that'll shut them down, perhaps even kill them, and that can be a problem. RoboGear is actually on an upgrade there. He's throwing that down, and Chicken Noob, I see a notification because he's got the notify mod on. He is going T2 as well, so he's currently sitting in the pond in here, and he's grabbing T2. So we might be seeing a little bit of a T2 push in the centre there, because that's probably what he's going to go with T2 for. He could also potentially go for attack missile upgrade and cause a little bit of damage, because so far the opponents are not actually at T2 engineering, so they can't throw down attack missile defense. But he is going for that T2 upgrade, and we'll see what he does with that. There's quite a few wrecks on the beach around here, so the efforts of these guys are, well, just turning into reclaim really for Philip J. Fry. He will be able to pick those guys up. Of course, there is quite a few Zooids floating around just being problematic, and he has actually not managed to take out that mix. I'm not quite sure why that mix is still alive, because he easily has enough where he had the Zooey in range before, but he just didn't take it out, so unfortunate, but well, look somewhere else. Okay, so in the centre we have got the noobs congregating. They have managed to grab the extra mixers. They're going to be sitting at a little bit of a mass advantage. They've got a little bit of air support with Ravager. I keep thinking that the yellow would be chosen because he often plays yellow, but in this in this case, Ravager Noob has actually stolen his colour. I hope he's not too mad about it, and he is going to actually assist. So Ravager is assisting there, so Chosen is going to get that upgrade, and
it is a gun upgrade. I'll check which one. It is the rate of fire upgrade. He's now getting the the rate of fire upgrade. Yeah, I think I already said you got the range.
Alright, he's about 50% done with that. So that's going to be a slightly dangerous ACU, and Hazael is actually going to have to be a little bit careful in the centre because he's going to run headlong into 2 ACUs, and that is going to be a little bit of a problem. He starts taking fire from Chosen straight away because of that extra range, and that is going to start pushing him back. So he is actually down almost 2k HP. It is 2k, and Ravager Noob and Chosen both pushing here. So I think they smell blood. They have decided that they're going to go in and kill Hazael. And there's actually supporting units. There's Auroras as well. Hazael is down to the red. This is going down really, really quickly.
No chance.
He is just about to explode. That is vaporized. And that very, very quickly, at only 7 minutes, turns into a 3 versus 4. That is a big problem. And that is going to be severely disadvantaging.
Hazael was thinking, but he just walked out alone. I'm not sure his intention there was, but obviously it did not work out in any way whatsoever. Well, maybe he'll benefit his team if they're able to get his economy, but other than that, I don't see how that could have been any benefit to him.
He must have thought there was a single ACU in the center. He wanted to try and push it back. He didn't realize there was that amount of T1 and 2 ACUs, especially one with the Aeon gun upgrade, with a double gun upgrade, and he just wasn't expecting it, and he could not get out in time. We can see he only managed to pull back a small distance before he was absolutely destroyed, and it looks like Chosen is actually going on the rampage now. He is just running straight through, and he's got the T1 to support it. There is not a lot of air on the field. In fact, Ravager Noob has got a lot of interceptors on, and Overrated Noob has got a number as well, so the noobs are definitely in air control right now, and they are pushing through. They've already eliminated that one player out of the JEW clan, and they are just going to press their advantage. It looks like Chosen is going to use his ACU to start building some eco, and he's going to just take out the T1 units that are coming his way. So that means that he is now going to be able to assist, and Philip J. Fry is going to be in a very unenviable position right now, because he is going to have Chosen as well as the chicken noob Zooies that are pounding his base, and they are just going to start rocking in and doing a lot of damage. And Philip J. Fry is actually on upgrade, and so those Zooies are going to be able to sit there and just hit away at him. And unfortunately for him, the range upgrade on Chosen's ACU means that he is going to have to cancel that and move, because the ACU fire was just absolutely devastating, and Chosen looks like he's single-handedly going to be able to take out Philip J. Fry. I'm not sure that there is anything that Philip can do right now. The extra range on that ACU.
So I think there's very little he can do.
Down into the yellow, down into the red. He is down at 2700 HP. The range on that gun upgrade is just absolutely killing him. He's down at 1500. It looks like Chosen is going to claim a second scalp here. 800, 700. Chosen does need to keep moving. There we go. A couple of rounds come in from Zooies as well and finish him off as well. That's 7200 HP left in the tank for Chosen after taking out 2 of his opponents. That is absolutely ripping through the JEW clan.
And now on the top, on the top, Viva is now getting swarmed with Tech 1 Seraphim bombers. And I guess he's going to try to dance around that as much as he can, but it's going to be hopeless. There is going to be some Tech 1 Lanceman coming up from Ravager as well.
And the Tech 2 PD that is just going up. See, Overrated Noob has brought his ACU right over to Viba's base. He's thrown down a T2 PD, which is going to start mopping up all the T1 that is floating around. Of course, the Seraphim T1 PD, very effective against T1 because the beam redirects to the next unit very quickly. It retargets and maximizes the amount of damage and minimizes overkill. So Overrated Noob is now just reclaiming factories. So he is just coming in. He is just going to take Viba's base for his own, and Viba's actually just opting out. Actually, Viba was over in Overrated Noob's base trying to do a similar amount of damage, but does not happen.
Cheese does kill him, and that Overrated Noob is not so overrated after all.
So we are now just over 10 minutes, coming up 11 minutes, and it is just RoboGear left against 4 pretty highly rated SNF players. This is not going to do well at all. He has managed to get up to T2. He does have a number of pillars online, but half a dozen pillars against the full brunt of 4 opposing economies is just a losing proposition every time. There are a huge swarm of T1 bombers that are now redirecting over towards his base. There is not a lot of anti-air online at all. There's a single stationary AA, and that looks like about it. So those T1 bombers are going to have an absolute field day. They are going to eat everything in that zone and take it out. So that is going to not last very long. The ACU is right out front for RoboGear. He does have T2. He is going to throw down, well, he's thrown down a couple of PD already, and he's probably just going to try and turtle up and last as long as he can. It didn't take very long. It was about 10 minutes to take out the rest of his team. We'll see how long he can last, and the main base is under substantial fire. He does have a T2 PGN up, but it is quickly losing health, taking more hits from those T1 bombers, down to 1000 HP. It will be exploding momentarily. It looks like he did manage to actually take care of most of those T1 bombers. He did get some flak out because he does have T2 land factories online. online, and he's going to try and keep that factory up, or sorry, the PGen, because he desperately needs it at this point, especially if he's thinking about putting a shield up, which he probably isn't because he just doesn't have the eco for it. Well, actually, he's got a little bit in storage. He's got just a little bit of power overflow, and it is going to keep him alive for just a little bit longer. But we can see all of the units moving in. We've got Tech 2 mobile missile launchers coming in to dispatch the firebase. We've got a bunch of mobile artillery. We've got THAMs coming in. We have got all sorts of things which are coming to end RoboGear, and the main base is now under attack from Overrated Noob's ACU. He is actually going to have to pull back a little bit though, because there are a number of pillars, and those pillars are reasonably powerful, and they're going to do a little bit of damage. Does he have overcharge? Hopefully has overcharge.
Let's just check. Look like
He's still got a couple of overcharges in the tank. That is enough to take out those guys, but he is still down into the yellow. He's taking quite a lot of unnecessary fire, perhaps a little bit of an unnecessary risk there. He is bringing in a little bit of support. He is
reclaiming the pillars.
He is just employing a little bit of cheese at this point. He will survive this. He is backed up out of range. There isn't a triad online that was giving him a little bit of trouble. He is sitting on 3,300 HP. He is just going to overcharge that pillar that's coming in, and he's just going to decide to sit back and throw down some land factories. So he's probably going to just put a little bit of T1 spam into the base, and probably just employing any silly things that he can think of right now, because he knows this game is in the bag, and it's just a matter of time to see how long RoboGear can last. Now, Chicken Noob has got a T2 transport and has dropped his ACU in the back there. He has dropped right beside that triad turret. He's going to take it out. Down it goes, and that leaves the base pretty much defenseless. There's a couple of pillars still, and that is not going to last too long. Overrated now up to 4,100 HP, so regenerating just a little bit. Another overcharge should take that pillar out, and the base is just about gone. A T1 PD goes down for Chicken Noob. That is just going to rip the guts out of that base and leave nothing, because there's no eco at the front here for RoboGear, who's desperately building attack missile defense to try and ward off these mobile missile launchers. It is a losing proposition every time. You just can't build enough TMD to counter the same mass worth of mobile missile launchers. It is not going to work, and he is quickly running out of eco anyway, because his entire base is going down. There's 2 T1 PDs up, and that is going to be the end of it very shortly. I had expected him a little bit to control K by now, but he is going to fight it out to the very end. That is what we like to see, and that is going to end shortly.
Become his Alamo.
It sure will, and there are a bunch of Ilshivas who are now laying down fire. They are taking out those attack missile defenses, and they are going to make very short work of those before starting on the ACU. There is a Tick 1 PD, and it's got walls around it, so it's reasonably well defended, but unfortunately the Ilshivas are firing right over the top, and there's T1 bombers as well, and that is the end of that. So down goes a bit of power, so RoboGear down to 20 power. That is just what is being produced by his ACU. We've also got Harbingers in here for Chosen Noob, and we've got probably about 45 seconds left. Well, probably not even that now that they are focusing, and T1 bombers are going to come in and try and end RoboGear down into the red, down just about dead, and those Ultras actually stopping now, and there we go.
Tech 1 bombers coming from Chosen. The end game, his infamous end game Tech 1 bomber. You just spam Tech 1 bombers until the enemy is dead, and we're gonna see death by Tech 1 bombers again.
Alright, so that's the end of that, and a very nice set of plays there from the Noobs, and they managed to take it out. So, very well played there. Let's jump back to here.
Yeah, unless we want to go back and cover a dual archers match, then all we have left is the ONI versus UEF 4v4, and interestingly enough, I'm looking at the bracket on the challenge, and it looks like ONI did win one, but it looks like UEF has pretty much, I don't know how many have actually been forfeit, but it looks like UEF has pretty much won all its matches so far versus ONI. I guess their 4v4 is still possibly underway, so I guess we're going to go ahead and get into that.
Yeah, I think that would probably be a wise idea, so we get a little bit more game time in before we wrap this round 1 up. Just quickly swapping this out so that I can come back. Alright, so we managed to see a nice win there, very convincing in a very short time there from SNF. Very nicely played.
Yes.
Alright, and let's jump back into here. So here I am again. Alright, so very nice play there from SNF. Congratulations to them managing to, well, deny a few more points there for the JEW clan. So very nice, and we'll see what we can find now. So the game, is it still underway, or do we need to jump into the
I believe
replay
it is
vault?
underway because I looked on the challenge and it hasn't, and there isn't a 8-point score there yet. So yeah, it should be ONI versus UEF. UEF is fielding LIL Sid, LIL, or what is known as Democracy, Apophonous, or Lame underscore, or that guy with the long ass name. They're fielding Nor, and of course they're also fielding one of their core members, Commander Adama, and then they are going up against ONI, which has a Gogi, Super. Who's their guy? I gotta check again. Laneless, and then. Okay, I am noobing out.
So we've got the game looks to be Blood Axe Noob, Gugui, Laneless, and Super for ONI. So that is another game on diversity. So let's jump on into that one and see who's going to grab some more points for the Colosseum. Alright, here we go. So, we are back on diversity, our 4 versus 4 map for round 1 of the Intergalactic Colosseum, and this time we have got UEF versus ONI. So, on the left hand side, we have got UEF, starting with Noir. He is rated 1600, he is going UEF, funnily enough, and we'll have to see if they all opt for UEF or whether they make a sensible decision and mix it up a little bit. Which they have, because Sid, I'm just going to call him Sid, he has opted for Seraphim, and beside him we have got Commander Adama going for Cybran, and down in the south we've got Siawona Defnewin, I believe, something like that, and he has gone for Aeon. On the right hand side we have got Laneless, who has gone for Aeon as well to mirror, and then we have got UEF in Super, and beside him we have got Gugui, who has opted for Cybran, and then we have got Blood Axe going for Seraphim. Alright, so we'll see how this map is going to play out, and we just did see the SNF team manage to rip a new one in JEW, and we'll see if we're going to be in for a very quick game again, or whether we're going to see a little bit protracted play with a bit of back and forth. We can see the engineers are starting to make their way out to grab the faraway mexes and hydros that these guys have got available to them, and they're going to get that expansion underway. So far, the top mass income is Sid. Well, no, that was reclaimed. They're all sitting on 3 to, well, 7-ish mass per tick, so just getting underway. Not much to speak of there. Do we have any first air factories this time? I'm not sure that we do. We've got land, 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 and on the right hand side, I'm not sure that we're going to see. Well, actually at the top.
Air factory from Blood Axe Noob.
Yes. So right up there, he has gone first air. I'm just looking for any air units from him, or has he actually just opted for building engineers out of his air factory? It looks like it might be the case. Alright, so just engineers.
He's actually going to build a bomber now. Do you believe? Let me just confirm this. Yes, he is building a bomber followed by an air scout and an interceptor, so he's going to go for the early 2-minute 15-second bomber approximately.
Alright, so we'll see if he manages to cause as much damage as we saw in the last game, because that was very, very effective play. They got shut down very quick.
He is also opting to build a naval factory. On this map, it's not, despite the war, it's not really done too often, but I mean, if he manages to get some cruisers when the game goes on that long, that could be some very interesting plays. Since he is Seraphim, so he will get cruise missiles if he's able to do that uncontested, and that will give him some benefits.
It will, and he's got that bomber out now, and that is heading over towards the base of Noir, and it looks like that hasn't been spotted yet because there is no AA coming out. Continuing to build engineers and tanks, so it might be a little bit of a surprise that bomber will just be coming into range, into view range now. And where is that going? He's just looking for some targets. It looks like he has spotted a couple of engineers. He's going to try and do a little bit of a hover bomb mission, and down goes one engineer. That is very nice. Have we seen a switch up to AA? No, we've got no AA coming out of the factories just yet. That bomber is moving off, not quite managing to get another hover bomb. It looks like he might actually be switching up. No, he's turning around and he's going to keep hitting Noir rather than skimming across the back of everyone's base trying to take out engineers and distribute the damage. So the engineers, very nice little hit there. 2 engineers. Excuse me, 2 engineers and a bit of damage on a power generator and then a couple more engineers. So definitely paying for itself. That is up to 5 kills now, and we surely are going to see some AA popping out of the land factory any moment now. Just about completed. There we go, and that archer is online and it will start to do some damage, but of course that means that the bomber is free to move off. There is an interceptor now for Sid, and that will quickly dispatch that bomber. The bomber is on hover mode and he manages to get a little bit of damage.
The bomber dies with 7 kills.
Still very effective. He could have done maybe a little bit more. It gave quite a lot of time with all of his circling around for Sid to get an interceptor up, but still a decent number of kills. I'm not sure if it's quite a game changer, but we'll see how they get on. And interestingly enough, it looks like Blood Axe Noob is actually going to jump his ACU right across the water and try and... well, I'm not sure. Is he going to try and use his ACU for combat? Is he going to build a land factory? He is just going to steal some reclaim.
Maybe. Yeah, he ideally though from here he could just build factories and just Zooey spam right on that beachhead.
Although because they are Zooies, he doesn't need to build them on that side of the island. He could build them across the other side and just zoom them across the water because they are hover. He is going to take out that engineer. He takes out the mechs. He looks like he didn't actually steal that big rock. He did have a reclaim order down on the rock, but he has decided to go against that. He's going over for the frigate. So he is going to cheekily build up that T1 mechs and take that, which is a nice little bit of play. And then he's going to grab the reclaim out under the nose of Noir. So Blood Axe definitely doing a nice job against it, but against Noir, but it does leave him a little bit short-handed when it comes to units on the front line, and it looks like Noir might have just a slight advantage here. He's got a few more tanks. There is a bit of support from that frigate, but it is not going to be enough. He does need to get a lot more online, and he just doesn't have the factories at the moment. He's got a single land factory pumping out THAMs, and it's going to be a little bit of a problem for him to compete with the factories that Noir has actually got. He's sitting on 5 land factories right now, so a pretty good advantage to him, and he could maybe find himself with some strikers in his base very soon. And it looks like Noir has actually realized what is happening, and he's going to push up with his ACU because that ACU is now going to be fairly unopposed. If Blood Axe pops his ACU out of the water, there is enough T1 and the ACU to dispatch him or send him back into the water. So it's looking a little bit problematic for ONI right now. It was a very aggressive play from Blood Axe, but I'm not sure it's actually going to pay off.
Yeah, interestingly enough, if Blacks can hold out, Gogi has actually already gotten T2 land, and is going to make some techniques. Look at the moment, it looks like he just made some engine flak. But if he starts making rhinos already, he could go ahead and help Blood Axe. But if he doesn't, then Blacks will not have a good time. And now there's also some units from Sid supporting Noir as well, and that's just not going to work out for Blood Axe, obviously, as he's going to have a bad time.
It looks like Gugui is sending what he's got to try and aid Blood Axe there, but it does mean that his units are out of position for that little push from Sid and from the ACU of Noir, and the AC for Blood Axe is coming right back to try and defend. He is going to run into those units there for Noir. He will be able to dispatch that number of T1, but it just has put a bit of a dampener on his eco, and that T2 mech is actually taking a lot of damage. It's probably going to go down before he can take those guys out, so that will be a T2 mech. It'll be a significant kill at this point of the game. Blood Axe is only sitting on 21 mass per tick, so that T2 mech is going to be a hard loss to take, sitting on 96.48, and down it goes.
Mass. And there we go, 1/3 of his eco.
Gugui is managing to do reasonably well. He's sitting on 31 mass per tick, so just out in front of the pack, and that is what he's using to get up to T2. He does have a rhino on the field now. There is one rhino there, and there's a rhino at the top actually just chasing down those units for Noir. So that will be the end of those, but just continued pressure on Blood Axe. He's lost a second mech, and he is just not looking too healthy right now. He doesn't have enough production. He's lost some of his eco. He is sitting on 15 mass per tick, which is actually not the worst of the pack. Lanalus down in the south, who has been under a bit of harassment from Siawona, whatever his name is, he has managed to suppress his eco and that is putting Laneless at just a little bit of a disadvantage, and he is coming last in that scoreboard. And there's a fairly large engagement. We've got Laneless and Super ACUs both in the centre here. They're fighting off the T1 army that is coming forward from Siwona and from Commander Adama, who hasn't actually done too much. We haven't looked at Commander Adama a lot so far this match, and Laneless is down into the yellow. He's got 6200 HP left on that ACU. Super is sitting on nearly a full health ACU, but I don't know if those guys have got any gun upgrades yet, so that's...
Now back in the center, it looks like Nor's pushing more land. It looks like he has a potential opening there right by that Red's Hydro, Gogi's Hydro. If he pushes to there, he can probably push here up or down, and then that's more potential dead techs and mexes. And
Gugui has spotted that, and he's bringing his rhinos around to try and deal with that. So there's a couple of rhinos, but he doesn't want to bring them in one at a time like that because he will lose them fairly quickly against a large pack of T1. So those rhinos definitely more effective, but not in single file, so he does have to be a little bit careful, and those units are getting a little bit stuck on that ridge as they try and come around to battle the incoming units from Noir, and a little bit of support there from Sid. So not going too well. The right hand side is just definitely under a lot of pressure here, and they just can't seem to do anything. And of course, the more ground they lose, the more mexes that ONI can take. No, sorry, that is ONI. The more ground that ONI give up is the more that UEF can take and secure the mexes. We can see the center here is well and truly owned by UEF, and that is just going to continue to compound the advantage that they've already managed to gather. So the rhinos here able to do quite a lot of work. They've managed to dissipate most of that, but there are two commanders moving up to Noah and Sid, both moving their ACUs, and no other ACUs. Well, actually, sorry, Bloodaxe is down in position to support Gugui.
Yeah, he's actually moving his ACU, and of course Gugui's moving. I'm not entirely sure if the air have gun comm. I'll just double check Bloodaxe, but I doubt it. Yeah, no gun comm, and as you can see, Sid does have gun comm, so there will be an edge to him. And of course, Googie and Bloodaxe have to fight close quarters. Interestingly enough, though, Googie's little walls that he has there, his little point defenses, are actually two fake PDs, which is probably why, and I bet the enemy bought that bait, which is why they're kind of going around the rear. And now we are seeing this engagement come in. The rhinos are coming in, the overcharges are going out. It's quite the engagement.
I feel like Bloodaxe needs to just get into the action a little bit more. He's sitting just a little bit too far back. He's not able to use any damage from the ACU, and Gugui is taking a bit of a hammering. He's down to 4,500 HP, well down into the yellow, and he's probably going to die to these two ACUs. So Noir is sitting on 7,400 and Sid sitting on 8,900, both in the yellow, but they have just brought Gugui down into the red. I'm not sure that he is going to be able to survive this one because they are just too much for him to handle. That is just the end of him. So unfortunately, Bloodaxe just hanging back a little bit too far. He could potentially have swung it a little bit in their favour if he had his ACU in the mix and was able to absorb some of that damage, but unfortunately that was not the case, and that brings down to 3 players. So we're at 10 minutes, which is lasting slightly longer than the last game we saw, and there are actually a couple of gunships out and a Control K. Was that Noir?
Noir actually goes down to Bloodaxe,
and Bloodaxe
goes down with the explosion.
And so there's a couple more down.
Several people down, now at a 2v3 in favor of UEF.
And a couple of gunships there getting to work on Sid's ACU, but unfortunately they do not have air control, so ONI just not having enough in the air, and they get shot down pretty quickly. Of course, that ACU is a little bit vulnerable right now. I think he is heading straight for the water. That does look to be the case. Yes, he's just trying to get into there. Sure. There is another gunship ready to go for Super, but I'm not sure that he can actually make use of it right now. He's got a couple of interceptors, but probably not quite enough to keep everything alive. Alright, down in the bottom here we have got still some action between Laneless and Siwona, who is pushing across at him.
Is actually suffering from TMLs from Apophis. We'll just go with his actual no-name, Apophis or Lame _ And yeah, he's losing land factories and of course less spam. And in the middle, he is actively fighting the forces there from Sid. A few gunships from Sid there. Sid does have air control, and we'll see if Laneless shall meet his fate to these gunships.
A nice
He is
rank of
about to get a
veterancy
new
there.
level veterancy. Yep. So he does buy himself some time, but he has no mobile anti-air. No, doesn't look like any anti-air is being built. One is being built now, but the reaction time just feels a bit slow.
There is a bit of flak floating around just behind him, but he does need to get that a bit closer. I think he may have given up a little bit. Well, perhaps not. He's sitting on 4,000 HP. He's got a T1 AA up. They've managed to ward away those gunships now, so that is nice. Actually, they've pulled away the interceptors as well by bringing the gunships around the back. I'm not quite sure what the plan was for those guys because they're getting shot down pretty quickly and there's no base there. Just maybe take out the expanding engineers that are going to reclaim the old base. It does mean, though, that Lanelus manages to survive. He's on 4,100 HP and a whole string of T1 AA going down there from Super. So those guys are very aware that they are not in control of the air right now and they're just trying to do something to keep themselves alive and in it.
Lanelus is actually about to lose his... He loses his tech to HQ Factory. He did get out one Mercy, but I'm not entirely sure we'll be able to do one Mercy. Now he has to rely solely on Tech 1 spam and his ACU.
He has managed to mop up the raid there from Apophis, but unfortunately the damage is done and there's another attack missile coming in, takes out another factory, so there is no TMD online. He doesn't have Tech 2 anymore and this is going to be very problematic. That one Mercy not going to be able to do much damage at all. We've got a continuing stream of attack missiles coming in. Apophis sitting on 27 mass per tick. Commander Adama hasn't done a whole lot of fighting this game. He has concentrated mostly on economy. He's sitting on 52 mass per tick. And Sid, who has done a little bit of fighting, he's actually sitting on 51 as well. So definitely a big problem for the right-hand team. Down 2 players already.
Commander Adama does have Tech 3 land. He is starting to make Loyalists. And of course, Loyalists being a very fun unit with the TM, with the missile redirection and of course the stunning capability. It'll be very interesting to see how he uses it, and maybe he can just swarm an ACU and just stun him and kill it.
At this point, I feel like they are probably just going to eco up a little bit just to get an overwhelming strike and then just go in. There is a couple of more gunships there, so looks like Super is continuing just to try and build gunships. He does still have an air disadvantage though. He just doesn't have enough interceptors to be able to clear the way for those gunships to do anything. They are coming in to do a little bit of work. There are some rhinos coming in and the gunships now gets taken to task by the remaining interceptors. There is a bit of land force in there for Super as well that will be able to mop up the last of those rhinos, but still not a winning proposition given the air disadvantage, because the left-hand team, UEF, is able to now pretty much do anything they like. They can prepare any attack they want, and ONI is just such on the back foot, and there was another Tech 2 land HQ gone down there, and unfortunately it was spotted and tac missiles into oblivion. So well, Lanelus just not able to keep a hold of Tech 2 and he is just suffering. And in fact his main base is almost completely destroyed. He has got 3 Tech 1 mixes. He's sitting on 11 mass per tick, so he is practically out of this game, which leaves pretty much just Super, who is rated 1600, so not the bottom of the pack, but he is pretty much fighting all 3 UEF players on his own. That Loyalist does go down, and well, it's pretty much T1, but there is also another one coming in. There is just nothing that they can do to stop the onslaught now. The economy is swinging so far in UEF's favour. It's just not funny at this point, and there's nothing they can do.
Super is trying to get Tech 3 land. His economy, mass-wise, it's negative 45, so he's not going to get anything anytime soon. He actually has fixed that with some recon, I guess, but now his power's dropped for it. Ideally, if he's able to last, he can maybe make Percivals. Percivals are a very strong counter to Loyalists, not the fastest, but 2-shotting, that's certainly satisfying. But other than that, though, unless he can get Percivals, he will just get legitimately harassed to death by Loyalists.
And he's going to have a very hard time keeping that T3 going because his power is under attack. So there are a bunch of Nothers out. They've been floating around. They've been taking out PGNs. So there were 3 T2 PGNs online for Super, and oh dear, we've got a desync, but at this point it doesn't really matter. So there were 3 T2 PGNs, they all got taken out by those Nothers, and that is going to pretty much deny anything that Super is able to do, because he just can't get the power online and keep it online. He's got a few interceptors online, but of course now that he's got no power, it's going to be very difficult to get back into the air game and to keep it. So Laneless does go down, that is the end of him, and so now it is just Super. We're at 16 minutes, just coming up 17 minutes, and it has not been, well, it's not been entirely one-sided. There was a little bit of a push up the top from, who was that, from Blood Axe Noob at the start, but unfortunately from there it has been entirely downhill for ONI, and the UEF clan is going to run away with this one and claim the points. Of course, the 4v4s are worth a lot more points, so
yes,
that is going to help them.
That worth the most points on an individual basis, and Def's most definitely being worth more points than two 2v2s or 2 1v1s.
And another stack of Nothers coming in. They are going to get their bombs away, and boom and boom. So unfortunately, just as that T2 PG completes for Super, some Nothers come in and take it away again, so that is snatched out from under him. Let's just have a quick look at his eco. How bad is he doing? Minus 600 power, so there's absolutely no chance that he is able to even get back into this game at all. He's desperately trying to push that power up. He's still building interceptors. That is not going to be helping his power situation, and that is going to be the end of it. He's got a decent little stack of interceptors there, but there is just nothing that he can do. He is now going to be surrounded by T3 land from all sides, and that is the end of that one. Now, I'm not sure whether that was a proper desync or just a person leaving desync, but at this point the game is pretty much over.
Desyncing, so yeah.
Okay, so we can't even trust what is happening right now, but we can trust that UEF has run away with this one and claimed the points and given themselves a little bit more of a leg up. Alright,
yeah,
so
I mean, pretty ironic to the actual competition. Like at first, like, you know, for the weeks before this was all going on, everyone thought that UEF would be the underdogs to his tournament overall. You know, because they didn't have that many powerful people. They had, you know, Ish, Commander, Dama, and then some there people like Hawkeye and so on. But now they've picked up all these other people like, you know, Apophis, Sid, Nor. Now they actually have themselves a decent team, and they're actually a force to be reckoned with now as well.
Well, they certainly showed it here. They've managed to dismantle ONI pretty convincingly, and they are just about to wrap this one up. So I think we might just jump out of this. Is there any other games that we want to cover, or is that pretty much the end of today's matches?
Well, unless, like I said before, I mean, unless you want to cover a dual arches map, since I know we didn't cover that, I think we pretty much have it all covered otherwise, since there wasn't really much to cover in the first place, unfortunately. So unless you want to go back and cover one of those, we pretty much have everything covered for today.
Alright, well I think we might just leave it there. So we are just coming up 3 hours now, and well, it's been some pretty good action actually, and quite nice to see. Let me jump back.
And then hopefully we'll be able to, yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to get a be let in on the dates for the Empire and Vor matchup. It'll be one of the main matchups of the tournament, since it's most people consider the 3 top teams for this tournament to be Empire, Vor, which has just come straight out of the blue into as one of the most highest pedigree teams for this competition, and of course BAW, which is obviously a more recent clan with the likes of high-ranked players in both global and ladder, such as Turin, Zoc, Zlo, Methy, Nexus, and so on. You get it.
That's right, yes. Now, if you've just joined us, we are just about to wrap up this coverage here, but the Galactic Colosseum Season 7 has been underway this morning, or this evening. It's this morning my time, and we have gotten a decent number of games, but unfortunately there was a bit of a reshuffle, and one of the clans, GB, is withdrawn from the tournament, and that means that the bracket did have to get moved around, and unfortunately E clan, they were supposed to be on a bye, but now they're back in the fray, so the matches between E and Vor are going to be held during the week, so hopefully we can catch up on some of those and get a little bit of coverage of those happening. We did manage to get a decent amount of games this morning, well, this evening, for UEF, for ONI, for JEW and SNF. So we got a decent bit of play there. We saw some nice action there, a couple of ruffle stomps and a couple of decent fights. So that is pretty much the end of the coverage that we're going to do now. So we'll catch up a little bit more during the week. And of course, next weekend we'll be back again with week 2, which is... Sorry, are you there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and hopefully next weekend we'll actually be able to see some action from BAW, because BAW was supposed to play BFA this weekend, but they didn't have any. But they only had one person available overall, I think, so they decided not to play. So I guess Stubbs is going to get in touch with Keiser and see what's going on with that. And if they don't have people, again, from my understanding, they're going to forfeit. I think they're going to end up being forfeit from their entire round next weekend. So we'll see if that happens. And yeah, I'll go ahead and list up the matchups for next weekend quickly, so people have a can think of what's coming up. All right, so for next weekend, it's going to be, the matchups are going to be BFA versus Empire, UEF versus VOR, JEW versus BAW, and then SNF versus ONI. So next weekend will be hopefully more fast-paced cheese matches and whatnot, and hopefully that there'll be a better turnout on participation.
That's right. So yeah, unfortunately, just a few people not able to get here today, and that has put a little bit of a dampener on proceedings. And interestingly, you said fast pace. We didn't actually see a single com drop. There was a com in a transport at one point, but it wouldn't really count as a com drop. So maybe a little bit more cheese. Of course, cheesy play is a little bit more interesting to watch. It can be a little bit more fun, and hopefully, yeah, we'll get a few more games and a little bit more action next week. Right, thanks for tuning in. We'll wrap this coverage up now and we'll jump offline. And, well, if you're interested, if you like this, let's go and watch, well, round 2 next week. So that is same time next week, and get a bunch more subcom action underway. And of course, if anybody is watching this who is not familiar with Supreme Commander, the game is Supreme Commander Forged Alliance. We're playing on the Forged Alliance Forever multiplayer client. You can jump onto www.faforever.com, grab the client. All you need is a working copy of Supreme Commander Forged Alliance, and you can join us in game. Alright, and anyone who is not in a clan, you still can get into the Intergalactic Colosseum. The teams are not fixed for the entire 8 weeks. If you're in a clan, you are able to jump on a roster for 1 week if you can get there, and you will be able to get in. So if some people who are not in clans at the moment may be thinking about it, I do encourage you to jump into Aeolus, try and talk to some people there, choose a clan, get some new friends, and go and get some games sorted. Alright, thanks for watching. We'll tune in again next week with some more Intergalactic Colosseum action.
Be right back. Alright, I'm back. And that's a wrap, I guess.